What is up, everyone? What is up? Looks like TikTok isn't up, or at least TikTok's having some issues right now.
Bluetooth mode.
Forgot to turn the speaker on for the little pretty lights. But yeah, TikTok looks like it's been having issues all day long. It was kind of interesting. In the Discord, somebody's like, well, now that TikTok's gone, what should we look at? And I'm like, TikTok's not gone. TikTok's just having issues. It's having as many issues as I did in my teen years. But anyway, I've been working on a few fun projects. So first and foremost, the network is upgraded. We're on a new firewall. Yeah. So I finally got that installed. It was not as much of a headache as I thought it would be. It was as simple as installing pfSense in the new box, downloading the config from the old box, putting restoring the config to the old box, and then yeah, RIP TikTok. But yeah, I just downloaded the config from the old box and uploaded it to the new box, and then walked through first we actually have to install pfSense, then log in, just like your, admin pfSense, the basic stuff. Then I uploaded my config. Then I had to go through, reconfigure it, because of course the interfaces didn't exist, which wasn't as much of a pain. It was more annoying. I was having to figure out which order I wanted to do things. But on the WAN side, I am future-proof to 2.5 gigabits per second on both ports there for primary and secondary internets. And then for the internal, I at least restored that lag group, so using LACP, link aggregated something. It's an aggregation between 2 gigabit connections, to 1 gigabit connections, to be clear. Everything's running. And what was interesting is if you looked at the pictures that I had on Discord and social media, it was essentially running a lot smoother. I even noticed that there was lower latency, stuff like that. I did some additional tunings for the new hardware, so I'm excited to see what'll happen. The old firewall, for some reason, I noticed the VGA connector was not working, and that's annoying, but I pulled it out anyway. It's over here, and I'm waiting for a PCI Express 16X riser. It currently has an 8X riser, but it's only PCI Express 4 lanes over there, built into the motherboard. The 16 is just the physical connector. The reason why is I'm going to install an NVIDIA Quadro, K620, which I'm just going to be putting in there because I need output. So it took me a while to hunt down one because I wanted it to have the ability to do VGA output, so I found a DVI-D connector that I can just put a little adapter in, and that should be good. So it'll have DisplayPort and DVI. That'll allow me to switch over to that. So that'll become the new logging server in the near future. And then I was also debating what I wanted to do with a few other things. So there are going to be some stream enhancements I'm working on. So one of the things I was looking at doing is currently when I do my streams, it works pretty well. We have the NVIDIA 5050 on the stream box over here off screen. It's doing 4 streams at once. So it's going to TikTok, Twitch, Kick, and YouTube. So it's doing 4 different transcode jobs. So I figured, what if I were to have that and have it just put out TikTok and then one other stream? And the way that I'll do is I'm not going to be using Restream or any of those services. I'm going to be using one of my spare Raspberry Pi 4s and basically set it up as an RTMP relay. So I send one stream out from this machine and then it rebroadcasts it to 3 different services at once, so I don't have to worry nearly as much about that. And then eventually I should be able to make a small little box that'll let me have a little bit more power around that, and then I should be able to do transcode jobs in that. So the idea being I can send a super clean, raw, mostly connection from this box to the Restream box that has transcode capabilities, and then have it do optimized connections for YouTube, Twitch, and Kick. So every platform should be optimized. TikTok is, of course, going to get the short end of the stick. What do you think of Dario saying software engineering is over in 6 to 12 months again? I don't think that's really going to happen. So here's the thing. We can actually go over an example. This is a great segue into the next thing I was working on. So I'm working on some projects myself. So as you know, I've been tinkering with AI and everything. We'll get into this little guy and why it's over here. It's a Lenovo Mini PC, which I'm using as another little server. There's too many computers on this desk. But what I was working on today was this project over here. Well, this is technically at my root folder, my root source folder. Let me see if I can focus in on... Yeah, this should be fine. So this was a project that I've been working on for a while. This is Stream Demon. So anytime I go live, that is what's kicking out the live notifications to all these platforms. So whenever you see me go live on, get the announcements in Discord, in Matrix, in Mastodon, and Blue Sky, that is going through a Raspberry Pi that is now, as of today, and this will be making sense in a second why I'm bringing this up to your software engineering point. This is now going not to Gemini, but to my local LLM server that is right underneath my network rack. And I've been playing with different LLMs. Right now I have it using Gemma 3 12B, and I have been improving the process for it. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is there's no way that software engineering is going to completely die out. I think what's going to happen is a lot of the minutia, a lot of those things may be lessened. You may not know as more of the tedium of if this then that and typing a lot of the commands out. What I think is going to happen is you're still going to have to engineer things, because let's just put it here. I was trying to put the parallel features that I just put into Stream Demon into BoonTube Demon, and I had to say, no, we are missing this feature, we're missing that feature. So to give you an idea, because this one has the comparison, we can actually show. So in Stream Demon, I added extract from thinking. It works with thinking models now. Extracting hashtags, contained forbidden words. Basically, I don't want it to say like hype or any cringy kind of things or clickbaity kind of things. Count emojis to limit the amount of emojis. If you want a profanity filter, I don't enable it. So maybe it'll fucking curse. Who cares? Check if there's duplicated messages. Put messages to the cache to check for deduplication. Validate the platform stuff. Safely trim messages when they get too long, and generate with retry when it doesn't meet the criteria, because what it'll also do is build notifications, have guardrails, tokenize the username so we don't put the username in as a hashtag, validate the message quality, score message quality, remove hashtag from messages, and validate hashtags. None of these features existed a few days ago, and LLM's not going to think of being able to do a lot of that stuff, which is where people are like, well, software engineering is going to die. You're still going to have to learn how to engineer things. Case in point, if you leave an LLM to do any of its own shit, what's going to end up happening is you're going to get a monolithic file that is going to just be monstrosity. So if we look at this project over here, look at the left-hand column, you can see all the files over here. You can see it's broken down. I have documentation written out. Now, admittedly, one other feature that I've done with it is I have put it in the persona of George Carlin, because I thought that'd be hilarious. I thought he'd be laughing his ass off that we're having to have an LLM get rules and get its homework rated, basically. But I digress. It wouldn't have Dockerized the thing. It wouldn't have done that, and even then, it wouldn't have taken care of some vulnerabilities over here. So you see right out the box, it's taking care of some vulnerabilities. It wouldn't have, to have the Docker composes. It wouldn't have the CI/CD checks to check all that. It wouldn't have set up a virtual environment for Python for the testing. It wouldn't have unit tests. Look at all these unit tests that I had to build. These are things that I, was like, I needed to test this, I needed to test that. Did I write a lot of these tests? No, but I looked them over and I'm like, yep, that looks pretty much right what I'm needing to break it down. So, like, I had to do test Quen 3, but like this right here, look at this. It's, my CI/CD checks are also telling me there's unused imports, which is not a big deal. And then if we look at, hold on. 4 problems exist. Oh, that's because I'm actually working on that branch right now. But if I left the LLM to be building this all on its own, everything would still be in this singular Python file. It wouldn't be modularized. So as you can see, you can go into my code and you can be like, oh, there's an AI folder. This is all the AI stuff in there. But then I also had to build all these guardrails. So you can see, check if message contains clickbait, forbidden words that we explicitly told the AI not to use. This catches when the LLM, all that. A lot of these are literally the prompts that it's feeding into the LLM. So tokenize username into parts that should not appear. It's actually, setting up all these guardrails. It will actually, I should be able to actually show this part now that one of it's run. Okay. Making sure there's no sensitive data. There shouldn't be because I sanitized a lot of that stuff. Okay, here we go. So we can see right here, this is Stream Daemon actually, connecting and doing a thing. So you can see, checking streams. Okay, it sees these 3 go live. Posting live announcement. Generated stream start message. Okay, all that. But then, generated message has 1 issue. Too many emojis. Max of 1. Retrying with stricter prompt. So when people are like, well, LLMs are going to completely replace. No, it's not. Because as we can see, it's still not even listening to my own rules that I'm putting in there. And I know some of you are going to be like, well, you have Claude and all that. I don't think the future is really going to be a lot of these large LLM systems. I really don't. I don't think that they're going to be, OpenAI and all of that. Although I will have to figure out why the Blue Sky one failed. Retry. Generated. I just got this up earlier today. Oh, there we go. So yeah, it kept trying until it actually got one that met the criteria. So, posted to 3 of 4 platforms. Message with 1 issue. Message too similar to recent announcements. Message too similar to recent announcements. Makes another one. Message has 2 issues. Too many emojis. Message too similar to recent announcements. Trying with stricter prompt. Retry still has issues. And then it goes through. Uploaded. And then we should be able to... Damn it, I did not log into Blue Sky on this account. So I gotta open up my Firefox. There's stuff that I haven't logged into on Florp yet. Which, by the way, I've been liking Florp as a lot better of a browser. So if we go to my account... Boom. You can see, Lab got a massive upgrade. But then if I go into social.chiefgeek3d.com, my Mastodon server, we should see... Expect some streamer drama and cybersecurity rants, plus diving into Linux gaming later. Okay. You see? Separate. They're different from each other. A little bit of uniqueness between them. But All this to basically say, no, I don't think software engineering is going to be killed off in 6 to 12 months. In fact, we're now at the point that LLMs are having diminishing returns on the new generations, and they're running into major issues where data centers don't even have enough power to be able to deploy the hardware that they're buying. They're buying hardware, hoarding it, and then waiting for power to be capable of going to those data centers because they're straining the grids as it is. I think, what was it, last I checked, it's like 4 or 5% of all electricity in the USA is just going to data centers, and that number is expected to increase. Which brings us into another thing I'm going to be talking about in the review on stream stuff. There is a new little card coming out called the Furiosa. It's not a GPU. It is an AI inference card, so basically it can do all the things that mine does, my GPU LLM box is doing, but this is wildly more efficient. So they're calling it the Renegade, which I found is really amazing because we're the Renegade Penguin. So anyway, look at that. It's only at 1 gigahertz frequency. It's got 48 gigabytes of memory, and hold on, where is the actual, it was like, 180 watts versus a GPU, 5070 Ti, the one I have in my computer, it's about the same. Hey Chief, I've been looking into Raspberry Pi 5, but not sure what project I want to do with it. Well, that's a great thing about a Raspberry Pi 5 and a Raspberry Pi. You can have it do just about anything, and don't be afraid to be like, I don't know what I'm going to do with it. Get one, get two, and then just start using it and don't be afraid to be like, okay, I learned a thing. We're going to wipe the SD card. We're going to install the OS again. We're going to try a different thing. My Raspberry Pis have gone through each a dozen or 2 dozen projects in their lifetime. And they may finally be getting into their final jobs, depending on the future, with the next iterations of stuff that I'm going to be doing. I'm going to have 4 Raspberry Pis racked. There's going to be 2 3B pluses that will be my Zero Trust Network Access connectors. There'll be one that'll be my stream relay, which will be holding on until I get a dedicated box to have transcoding built in. That probably won't be for a while, at least until I get high split from Spectrum. And what'll also be my Unify controller to replace my other. Can't turn them into a virtual firewall? Not really. The most you can really do with them is Pi-hole, but the honest truth is they don't have the processing power to really be a proper firewall, even if they had the I/O for it. You can do a lot with them, do not get me wrong, but there are some limitations. And speaking of which, my new firewall is really amazing. Yo, YouTube recommended me a random English streamer. I don't know why. If you're into tech, maybe. But yeah, so we have this new inference card that's coming out. It's not a GPU. It's, the Furiosa Renegade. I really want 1 or 2 of these for myself, but they're probably going to be a little bit expensive. They're estimated, the official price hasn't been released, but they're probably going to be like $8,000 to $12,000. And it was already a stretch for me to even think about getting an NVIDIA DGX Spark. These have 48 gigabytes of memory, so for my inference needs, one of these would probably be more than enough. 180 watts, reasonable. You know, you could run that in a house. Plenty of bandwidth for that. So what's the great frickin' thing about this? Now deep in Linux, Arctic's Linux security. So the big frickin' deal about this is mostly the efficiency. Not only is it going to cost less than some of the NVIDIA data center systems they have, but it's going to cost less in terms of power long term. So while this can't do, from my understanding, the training of models like GPUs can, it can do the inference, which is probably, I would argue, the most used part of all the GPU stuff. I'm using inference and everything. Maybe you deleted the EY videos from my HDD. Okay. You can probably re-render them. You've got the original footage. It should be in my OneDrive. You can just pick that up and then re-upload it to OneDrive. Yeah, they're in Discord. Or just grab them and put them in. I just didn't feel like scrolling up to grab them. But just make sure they're all in a place, and then moving forward, let's try to get all of the clips and shorts into 1080p, so we'll have some higher quality, because we no longer are constrained by Discord's limitations. Now that I got you into the little infrastructure I've built. So, anyway, back to this. This is gonna be really awesome. And I mean, look at the tokens a second per watt that it can do. So it can do a lot more. So this is the NVIDIA H100 SXM, which I think is their big boy card, if I'm not mistaken. So this can do 2064.53 tokens a second. Now the Furiosa technically can do half as much, but if we look at, let me look up the specs. NVIDIA H100 SXM power consumption. Okay, so this NVIDIA box, the H100 SXM, is using 700 watts max, whereas the Furiosa can do 180 watts. So you slap two of these together, two of these Furiosa cards, you will equal one H100 SXM and still be at roughly half the power usage of an H100 SXM. And power is the most expensive part of any of these LLM systems. So that's one of the cool things that I've been seeing. Now, of course, that's if you're doing Llama 3.170B. If you do something like Llama 3.18B, the gap is much lower. But that's kind of why I want to really get these cards. Anyway, that's that one. Let's see. God, Vampire threw a lot of hardware up for me to check. We got a lot of videos. Lots and lots of videos. Oh, yeah. So there was an incident. I don't know if you've seen this with some streamers. It's kind of funny. I'm not really one to watch a lot of these different streamers out there, but I do somehow get made aware of all their drama, especially from watching Moist Critical. And there was a streamer, we're going to be talking about this, and before you're like, why are we talking about some streamer drama? Well, this one actually does fall into my lane of cybersecurity. There was an incident. If I can find this video, that basically a streamer showed something they shouldn't have, then started blaming Windows for why it happened, and we're all and I'm like, that's not how it works. Korea's NVIDIA, blah 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 blah. I know I had it up here somewhere. Oh well, I can just go right to Moist Critical's channel and pull that up. By the way, loving the new firewall with the Xeon D1518. I actually noticed, looking at my logging server, because it does a check with the gateway latency, I dropped about 8 to 9 milliseconds of latency with the new firewall. So the network interface cards are a lot faster. And that's kind of impressive. Because I'm now down to like an average of like 18 to 20 milliseconds of latency on copper, not even fiber. Alright, moist critical. Oh yeah, he's Penguin 0, isn't it? Yeah, here we are. Okay, so let me make sure that you all have audio. I gotta do my reset pipe wire. Make sure the audio works. And like I, tell you, I only have to do this usually once per stream, and the only reason I have to do it is because, well, it's a streamer thing when you have two different pieces of hardware. Okay, so I gotta wake up the card. Okay, hold on. Probably because I did that in the middle of it. There we go. Okay, that... I always forget which port it is. It's either 3 or 1.
Front,
Yeah,
left.
it's 3.
Front, left.
Okay, cool. Doesn't Pop! OS still offer GNOME, or was it replaced with Cosmic fully? I'm still on Pop! OS 2204, so I am on GNOME. But the new version's replaced Cosmic fully. And while it is definitely, kind of a headache for some people, I think in the long run, it's a better move. The reason why is the GNOME Foundation has kind of been behind the times and dragging their feet to fix a lot of stuff. And I think we're about due for a desktop environment that comes with a clean slate. Is everything in there that we need right now? Are there still bugs? Absolutely. Are there still, things missing? Absolutely. But this is, I think, the first iteration. I'm going to switch over... probably with Pop! OS 2604 in April. I personally don't see the point in me switching over right now from 2204 to 2404 when right around the corner 2604 is there and 2204 is just fine. Now when 2604 comes around, then I'll back up all of my stuff and then do a clean install. I always like having a clean install whenever I do major jumps and everything. I cleared up 56 gigabyte of stuff, so any clips prior to latest are only in Discord, but I'm pretty sure everything besides EY is posted. Yeah, the Ernst & Young stuff was the only clips that I haven't posted, other than the stuff from the latest videos, and I still got some more videos I'm doing as well. I just am working on the script for another video as well. So I have 7 recorded, 1 script to be done, so I got to get around to editing and doing a little bit more. But when you're actually employed, it's kind of hard to make time for all this. Tried 2404 Cosmic is still kind of rough. I'm just gonna wait for 2604 too. Yeah, I can see that. I definitely like the direction that Cosmic is going. I'm not saying it's bad in the way they're going. I think that they still need a little bit more time. While you stream, I'm just gonna download Kdenlive. Yeah, I like it. There's a little bit more of a curve to using it than Clipchamp, but I think you'll like it a lot more once you learn a lot of the basics, and maybe we can get you to the point where you can start editing the videos fully instead of just the clips. But start with it, get comfortable. I found that it was very similar to my days back in the day of using Windows Movie Maker. I know I just dated myself right there. But yeah, on this video over here, so this is some Twitch streamer drama. Why are we talking about this for anyone that just came in? Well, there is a cybersecurity component. There's a streamer called Lakari that showed something in a recent on the notepad and then started blaming, Windows and everything else and all of that. And I was just shaking my head learning more and more about this incident. Now, I haven't seen Charlie's video in particular about it. I've seen video commenting about Charlie's video. Thought this was the CC situation. CC. Which one is that? No, this is the Lakari thing that went on. So, and turn off the background music, and then we'll go into this, and I'll definitely be stopping and commenting, but...
Yeah, I just learned about the whole Lucari thing. Jinkies. So for like about a year or so, I was very offline. I set out to leave these four walls of the old loony bin more often to go breathe in the fresh air and really appreciate the Lord's land.
This is why I like
out
Moist
there in
Critical.
the
I
real
like the way
world.
that he just
So
frames
I
things.
was missing a lot of like the happenings in the internet space and all the drama for the most part. But over the last
Is that Jesus? I guess you could call him Gamer Jesus. Now, Moist Critical's been around for, he's been around the block for a long time. He's a pretty successful YouTuber, streamer, all that. He used to cover a lot of the drama on the internet and different things like that. He's kind of stepped away from it, but then he got back into it a little bit, which I think is a W for all of us. But, yeah, so, gonna be honest, he looks like Jesus. Yeah, I could see that.
or so, I've fallen off the wagon. I put the needle back in my arm to a certain degree because I wanted to see all the craziness
He's
going
only
on in the world, to
31.
stay up to date with
Yeah,
everything that was
I can believe
happening.
that.
And as such, I've been much more online now and seeing I
I do think he needs to clean up his beard a little bit right there. He's looking a little bit rough. Like, I try to give myself, like, a little bit of a line, all that. But I digress.
Today was a doozy with everything that just happened with a streamer named Lucari.
Oh, and this
Lucari is a
happened,
streamer
like,
I've been
so
loosely familiar
fast.
with for a while, and I know he had built up a reputation for being like a turbo maximum overdrive gooner, like a self-proclaimed hentai connoisseur, basically setting the goon dial to freaky mode. And today on stream, he
a good way to put it.
leaked his notepad that was filled with despicable and disgusting shit.
Okay, so Notepad apparently did an update where you can see your recent notes and everything like that. Now, obviously, I'm not on Windows here. I do have a Windows computer over here, so I think I have that feature. Just opening, I'm just checking right now. Yeah, so I do have the recents, and like if you look at my recents, all my files literally are script.txt are my last files that we had there. You still have no idea what goon means? I'll give you a hint. We're talking shake weights here. If you don't know what that motion is, I can't help you further there.
Feeds. Let me at least add way to the list of champions that I like.
Whoa! I haven't seen the clip.
Champions that I like.
I thought it was in the recents over there. Oh, that's not good. Yeah, I see. So, like, when you open up Notepad, it's got tabs over here. You know, like when you open up a web browser, you got tabs. I don't have to explain this to you. If you close your Notepad, the reason why it's greened out is because, you literally can't show some of that stuff. I think there's, that's where specifically the link of the, shall we say, questionably illegal material is linked, and we don't want to, spread that out. We don't want that kind of stuff being known to the public for obvious reasons. That's some Jared from Subway. Exactly. It's some $5 footlong stuff there. If you know, you know. But yeah, so he opened up his notepad over here. And as you can see, there's a bunch of tabs over here. It's a little bit blurry, so I can't exactly see, but I can see, like, all cup, favorite, and then, like, this is what I can make out over here. 1,500... Now, this was clarified. I saw a different image of this one in particular. JBT, which I didn't know what the hell that meant, and people had to clarify. It means jailbait teens. Yeah. Well, no, it's not that he watches in 480p. It's that these are the videos that we happen to get. Oh, I'm not doing League of Legends. We're watching another streamer that got caught in an incident, and there's a cybersecurity component to this because he starts blaming things, and I have to put my professional 2 cents in. So he's on the Epstein list. I wouldn't be shocked. Now, what's interesting is look at his face. I think he realizes what was just out there.
Fuck.
See?
The links are censored there, but apparently a lot of people have taken the plunge into looking up a lot of what was revealed here through the Lakari leaks, and what they have found.
Oh, yeah. I forgot. My camera's blocking him. Here, I'll move my camera. Sorry about that. Okay, so we'll go through that again.
Let me at least add Wade to the list of champions that I like.
So the video, the notepad comes up. Look at his face.
Fuck.
Like, look at that. Like, that's like jaw-dropping. Like, his heart sank, kind of like, I think he just realized what people just saw. And this isn't like the same thing as like, here, I'll do it for you. This is what's on my notepad right now. Y'all want to learn about LLMs and what they're good for that I just downloaded? There you go. You caught me in 4K. Like, see, I just brought that up. 4K QHD, yeah. He has more forehead than you. That's saying a lot. But yeah, we'll be talking about those LLMs later, because that goes into the stuff that I installed on my LLM server.
The links are censored there, but apparently a lot of people have taken the plunge into looking up a lot of what was revealed here through the Lakari leaks, and what they have found is beyond heinous. Like, this is some evil shit we're talking about here. Things like family nudism, apparently.
Was that what that was? Ew. I don't even want to look into what that is, but if it is what I think it is, ooh.
Like, that's
Yeah, Sweet Home Alabama is damn right.
some real pedophile shit right there.
Yeah.
Also, like, teens and animals.
What?
That notepad there, you...
I couldn't make out what was in there, but like teens and animals. So I saw the JBT thing. We talked about that. But what? That is definitely some Sweet Home Alabama. Some Deliverance, with the banjo dueling going on kind of shit.
I just saw one of the tabs that said JBT. It was like 500 JBT. Apparently that stands for jailbait teens. Like, it's bad. Like, really, really bad. And after this happened, I learned a bunch of terms that I wish I had never learned before. And as, what's the word? As corrupted as I already am as a millennial that had to grow up on the uncensored internet with blue waffles, 2 girls, 1 cup, Pain Olympics, and all those other things, this was shit that I was hoping this is just more depravity. What terms? Oh, you came in late. Vampire. So we're talking about Lakari, which was a streamer, that got caught in 4K with a notepad of a lot of questionable shit. Like potentially illegal shit. Like Epstein-level crap. Like that list should have been on Epstein Island. Like that kind of thing. No, this is unrelated, but isn't Twitch just known for this horrid stuff? Not really. Yeah, don't get me wrong. There's BS and drama all the time. But this is kind of, from what I've seen, a level that we rarely see.
of depravity. Jizzle Volume 9. Oh, so normal stuff at this point. Well, normal for the Trump administration at this point.
Stream was calling him out on it, and most people expected him to, in the stream, to like hide the evidence, nuke it, basically banish it to the Shadow Realm and hope that people didn't have enough time to dig into it. Lakari, on the other hand, cooked up a different kind of scheme.
And that's how I heard about it, because it was going on in some of my Signal groups. We were chatting about this incident, because I have a few Signal groups that I'm in with some friends from DEF CON, cybersecurity peers, and, you know, friends, and we share all kinds of threat intel and, you know, news that's happening, and, you know, this came to light, and we're like, what the hell? So, yeah.
Streamed for multiple hours after this happened.
What?
And just fucking face tanked everybody that was digging into it and all the people that were rightfully calling him out for how deplorable the shit they found in there was. So he kept streaming through this, and people were obviously researching.
Oh, he blames Windows. It's gonna come up, probably.
Notepad and everything on there. And then he was trying to defend himself by saying, like, oh, this was sent to me, or oh, it was actually a virus, or this and that. And then the stream, they weren't really buying that load of barnacles, so then they asked him to do something like show his Notepad recents, to show what else had been on his Notepad recently. And apparently he took quite...
You know, like you go to file, you hit recents, and you can see all the files in there. Like if you go on my computer over here, the Streambox doesn't have a screen to show it, but, you know, you can literally go over and see, like, all I have is, like, script.txt, because what I'll do is I'll put my scripts in here, in a text file on Linux, and then transfer it over to my NAS for storage, then pull it up on the Windows side to copy and paste it for the Elgato teleprompter. So that's, like, really what I use Notepad over there. And, like, over here, I use Notepad all the time for random shit. Like, this is, you know, my notes on what the LLMs are that I put in my Olama server today. It's a virus. He downloaded the wrong files. Yeah, that's the thing, is from what I understood, my friends were telling me, was he blamed Windows having an update to, like, automatically download files. Windows doesn't work that way. If Windows does download files without your attention, without your consent, it is Office and Windows system update related things. Dang, the Chi files were leaked. Oh no, you know what LLMs I use! The horror! But he, you know, was blaming, oh, the files were sent to me. Oh, Windows just automatically downloaded these files. It was just like all these different, you know, like excuses. And you're just like, dude, the jig's up.
Long time not doing that when requested by his chat. According to members that were asking this of him, he was looking at like his other monitor, potentially doing something there, and then eventually he showed his Notepad. And the keen observers might notice a little something in front of their peepers that's a bit fishy.
That for fun?
Did he really, like, not have a better video? Oh. Hold on. Is there, like, what's the premium enhanced bitrate? Oh, god damn it, YouTube, you're nickel and diming me. Oh, but that video, I guess, is using... Yeah, so you can't really see what it is. New text document, and then, like, all couples links, 2006 variety games... off the
Hentai site.
Where's the 1500 JBT? So if we go back, where are we at? 351 right now. If we go back, you can see right here, 1500 JBT. That's on the tabs over there. So where did it go? The thing is, as Charlie was just talking about, he's doing something off screen, so he was probably trying to wipe the evidence in real time. I'm still shocked people still use Windows. Yeah, well. He who was without sin cast the first stone. When is the shot stream where every time Windows messes up, you take a shot? You know, I could have actually done that today, but I got work tomorrow. So the problem is I can't do it with TikTok on, and TikTok is messing up today, so I'm actually not simulcast the TikTok, which is why you're noticing that I really don't give a fuck about my filter right now. Round 2, sin fight. How the snow for y'all in Ohio. It's not too bad. So my dog that's a mix husky, he's absolutely loving it. He keeps asking to go outside. My other dog is hating it. It's like coming up to just like, so I got a Jack Russell Red Heeler mixed dog, so not like a small dog, he's like a medium size. Snow is coming up pretty high on him. And then, you know, that's Ari. And then Barack is a little bit bigger, and he's the husky mix, and he's been loving it. The snow is definitely a little bit high. Thank God I don't have to drive tomorrow, at least until I go to the eye doctor. Is that why stream is better today? Probably. Sunday shot night.
For fun? Yeah, I download a lot of that.
Maybe I'll get back to doing Saturday streams as well, and then we'll do stuff like that, because at least Sunday will give me the opportunity. But the other reason why I don't like to drink too much is, Yitz has been open about this. I have to be respectful of people with alcoholism, which is why the only alcohol that I really have is in this corner of the house, which is my space no one goes into. So it's one of those, like, I just don't want to get shit-faced in front of him, because then it's kind of like a dick move. But yeah. Snow is about the height of my electric snowblower. Oof. Yeah. Luckily, my car is all-wheel drive, so it'll be interesting going to the eye doctor, but luckily they're not too far.
Couples? Okay.
Okay, let's back up to see what he was talking about.
What is hentai site?
What the? He's trying to say one of them was an adult cartoon site. Adult anime site. Chief cuddles with him after... Oh, this is a clip somebody else must have grabbed.
Yeah, I download a lot of that shit. Couples? Okay.
You know what I also don't understand about this kind of stuff? Like, look, I understand everyone has the urge to, you know, have that alone time. I'm not by any means shunning that. But what I've never understood is why people can't just, you know, be like, hey, we're going to go to the hub, you know, find a video or two of whatever you actually want on there like a normal person, get your rocks off, and then call it a day. But you have to go grab this weird shit? Yeah.
It's literally, is that not the, that's the file with the sus shit in it? Like,
mostly the comic ones. I'm not, you know, like saying like anything you do is bad. I'm just saying like in terms of this guy where he's got a notepad of like really, really sus shit. Okay?
It says one thing, but it has a bunch of sus shit in it.
Go on Twitter and look at fat boys with a fat butt. No, thank you. No, I think everybody appreciates a good fanboy.
So I don't understand. Like,
when he showed the recents on Notepad, there are 3 new text documents. And it doesn't take a super sleuth. You don't need Inspector Gadget to come in with some high-level tools in order to crack this case. The most likely reason is because when he looked at his recents in Notepad, there were probably some really awful things there that he knew people would pick up on. So then he opened some new text documents in Notepad to push those down out of the recents so people couldn't see them.
This is a real life version of the when I die, delete my browser history. Your bad Lola bunny challenge. What are you talking about? Is that the bunny from crap? What was it? That movie? No, never mind. I'm thinking of something else. I'm thinking of the other cartoon that's from the 90s that, you know, was like a mixed live action and cartoon, and there was this one character everybody loved, but I think you're talking about, like, what, some Looney Tunes. Okay, yeah.
That's the theory. That's just the game theory, but I imagine that's probably pretty accurate.
Space Jam.
His big claim,
Yeah.
from what I can tell,
But there was
with all the
another
surviving clips
one.
here.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit? That was the show I was thinking of, but I'm like, no, that woman was actually a woman. I thought people had separate PCs for different things. Work laptop, everyday laptop, goon laptop, gaming laptop. Apparently not. Gave me 2 more things to investigate later. Hopefully not the things that Lagari was showing, because then I'd have to question your mod status.
Anyway, though, his big claim, from what I can tell with all the surviving clips here, is that this is the result of a virus that uploaded this to his computer, and he had already removed it, but unfortunately that damn Windows 11, that dastardly bastard that is Windows 11...
This is why I brought this video up. It's relevant.
Which is really weird and odd.
How does it
Oh, so he's going to actually say it, and then I'll give my 2 cents.
end up there? Okay, let me explain what happened. All right? I was surfing a site. Okay? The shit got downloaded. Like, I didn't trigger a fucking download. It just got downloaded.
It doesn't work like that.
Text document. I saw what was in it. I deleted the text document. I deleted it. But the problem with Windows 11
Doesn't
is
work
that
like
even
that.
if you delete the text document, it apparently still stays there. So it was still there after I deleted it. I've told you guys 1,000 times that's what happened.
Sure. I'll believe that when me shit turns purple and tastes like rainbow sherbet.
Like, dude, I'm sorry. Like, I have like a fucking 3 terabytes of fucking hentai on my fucking hard drive, bro.
All other issues aside, I think that's just one thing. You shouldn't go around admitting that you got 3 terabytes of that stuff. Like, in this day and age, why do you need to have that? Like, I can make the argument of growing up before, you know, the, hub was, as popular as it is. You had 2 choices. Go to the back room of Blockbuster. Well, Blockbuster didn't do it. America Family Video. You go into the back room where there were those videos. You know, the black curtain. You know what I'm talking about. If you don't, back in the day, to go get adult movies, you had to go to a video rental store and then go to this room in the back where basically you got carded to prove that you were old enough to even be there, and then you got the video, and then you had to basically be embarrassed as you checked the video out to get rented by some, like, snot-nosed kid that isn't even old enough to rent these videos as he stares you down and judges you. Not that I've had to do this, but this is like basically what friends of the family have told me. Or your other choice was, with the advent of the internet, you'd go to sites. But of course, back in the day, a lot of those sites were really sketchy. There were legitimately viruses and things like that would actually come up through adult content. Nowadays, not nearly the issue. Nowadays, mostly malware spreads through cracked and pirated software. Do with that information what you will. The other way that you could get about this was a lot of people had private trackers for torrenting a lot of this adult content. And in that case, you would have to download the video. So why in this day and age, in 2026, with all of these streaming sites, even for the adult market, all of these other websites, would you admit to having 3 terabytes of adult anime on your machine? Storage hoarder. People filling their entire drives because there is space. Look, I don't even do that. Like, DF-H. So you can see what's in my storage. I've got, 5.1 terabytes used of my NAS, but most of that's video content and everything from me recording. You've got where is it? Yeah. That's the secondary NVMe over there. 2 terabytes. And then you've got 438 gigs used, so I've got 1.3 terabytes left. And then on my main data drive, I've got 3.6 terabytes available, use 1.1 with 2.4 terabytes available. But yeah.
Like a lot. Sometimes you go to a site, some shit.
To be fair, I do archive extremely hard 18+ video, which is slowly getting erased from the internet. Okay, that is a valid argument going back to my torrenting download things, and I'm pretty sure I have my home theater PC, which I haven't turned on in like 2 or 3 years since I moved to Roku sticks, that I wouldn't be surprised if there's a folder in my hard drive that probably has a few hundred gigabytes of some really gem, adult, legal content. The most questionable thing about it might have been how I downloaded it, not the actual video itself. Unless you live in Texas, where adult content is now like not even being allowed, or I think that there's some more stuff going around with like Texas and how they're restricting adult content and stuff or whatever. I forgot what the specifics were around that. Chat, you can correct me if I'm wrong. What's temps? Oh, that's temp files. So that's just temporary file systems. So lock QEMU, which would be my virtual machines over there. I forget what SHM is, but then you even have over here run user. So these are just temporary file systems. These are all, though, in Windows you have like C, D, and E. On Linux, it's pretty much you have your root drive. So if you notice, it's mounted at /. So that's everything underneath it, with the exception of everything mounted at / media's Chief Geek 3D secondary NVMe, which is its own disk that I put at its own custom mount point. And the same thing with / mount backup NAS and VM ISO NAS. So these would be all of my virtual machines and ISO files, and this would be the backup folder.
Kick ass. I can save money now and then. One can eat, get money in the daytime, even count it when I sleep. Wake up, they getting bread, bitch. I do this for the streets. ADHD.
Jess K. Bear just resubbed for 13 months. Happy Snowmageddon, everyone.
Thank you for that sub over there, Jessica. 13 months. Thank you, girl. Yes, happy Snowmageddon indeed. Did you really just call her Jeggica? Bro, those keys are like 3 apart from where, the S is. Legal adult. Yes, the way I got them, no. And not pirate websites, just downloading software. Yeah. Better than Jennifer, I guess. Could be worse, could be Jennifer's body. Does Chief own a snowblower? No, the closest I've had was an ex-girlfriend that was a snow bunny that definitely liked to blow some snow.
Downloads on your shit. You don't fucking want it. You fucking delete it. And that's just what happened, man. Okay? Like, that's what happened. I'm sorry, all right? Like, I don't know how many times I have to explain this, but that's what happened. Dude, let's just move the fuck on, please.
A very interesting, innovative defense strategy that could make a lawyer throw himself down a set of stairs. So he's saying that he's got...
Oh, that is a great way to put it. I am going to have to remember that. That is such a great defense that would make any attorney throw themselves down a set of stairs. But yeah, like, I'm going to let Charlie finish this point.
Terabytes of hentai, which, just take a moment and process that, really let that marinate. That is an absurd amount of anything to have. This guy is basically compiling the fucking Library of Alexandria for hentai on his devices. That's fucking crazy. But
okay, I just want to see something here. Because, like, he's saying that's a lot of anything. I just want to look up my 3D printing files, okay? I'm just curious how much space that is. And you know I have a lot of 3D printing files, okay? Let's let that count up, okay? 66 gigabytes. 66 gigabytes. And I have a shit ton of, you know, files there.
saying that, you know,
God
like...
damn it. Of course, I've hit the properties, and it's like... Anyway.
Thanos, it was inevitable that this kind of content would somehow end up on his computer when downloading all this hentai. It happens, you know? Just...
Yeah, you know, I just happened to go on the, certain... And bam, random text file just downloads. You know, that just happens. So, hold on.
It is what it is.
I just wanted to check something else out. If we go into my NAS, okay? This is all of my ISOs. So all of my ISOs for all the operating systems I have, about 160 gigabytes. I just want to put into perspective, like, and as you know, I have a lot in here. I've got, like, Beaver, Linux, Debians, and, like, this isn't just one version. It's like there's a couple in here. Need to get a new version of FreeBSD. You've got Haiku, a couple of Collies in there. Of course, you got the GOAT, Hannah Montana Linux. You know, you've got a few in here. Like, even if we go into, like, Pop! OS, I think I have a few versions. Yeah, so I have, like, the newest NVIDIA one that is on there from, there. One of the older versions. I probably got to do some clean out. Yeah. So that's in there. Let's go to my blockchains folder. Okay? Literally. Blockchains for cryptocurrency stuff. Okay, I actually wiped that out. Okay. Now, if we go to my entire backups, I just want to make sure... Yeah, that should be fine. I've got my entire Facebook data that I've downloaded. Okay? This is all of my data from Facebook before I deleted my account. I extracted all my data. That's only 9 gigabytes. That's all the images, videos, content, everything that I've posted. Like, I want you to understand when somebody says they have a lot of data, this is, you know, like, ridiculous when they're like 3 terabytes. Okay? Like, if we go to my videos over here, hold on, no, the YouTube one. Videos is like, movies and the community TV shows. Like, all of my YouTube files, all the raw footage, 160 gigabytes that I've had so far. If we go to videos, you can see Burn Notice, Community, Futurama, Parks and Recreation, Rick and Morty, Stargate, like all the Stargates, Hackers, Office Space, and then you can go Movie Night. You know, it's like all the movies. Okay? That folder. All those movies. Okay, that's 1 terabyte.
When he deleted it, Windows 11 went rogue. The ghost in the machine. It wouldn't let the notepad die, like a necromancer revived it, and once again brought it back to life.
Oh yeah, those are
on
high-quality
Atari's
movies.
Device. Even though he himself deleted it, he tried to take it down. Windows 11 said no. That's the claim, that when he was downloading all the hentai, he noticed that this got downloaded too, so he deleted it, but Windows 11 has a feature that kept it around even after he deleted it, and he didn't plan on having this stuff in the first place. I'm going to tell you, it doesn't really pass the smell test. It is very hard to believe. Now, what is true about Windows 11, and Notepad in particular, is if you are working in Notepad, and you don't save your work, like if you exit out of it or your computer crashes and you don't save it, Windows 11 can restore it. It will actually restore that even if you didn't explicitly
That's
save
been a
it.
useful
So let me
feature
show
at
you
work.
What that looks like. I'll open Notepad, brand new, the quick, wow, brown fox jumped over the lazy log. I have clearly not saved, I have not done anything here, I have just typed into this, and you can see that the title matches the text in the document. Now, if I was to close out of it, I haven't saved or anything like that, but if I open Notepad again, it's still there, even though this is not a document or anything that I have saved, because...
And as much as people may complain about this, then it's actually a really great feature because I actually use Notepad for my notes at work, and we have Windows 11 on our computers, and I use Windows Subsystem for Linux. So a lot of times I'll put my notes in there, and there's been issues where my computer crashes, and, you know, oh, great, my notes are there. I still have all the notes I've done for the week. But, yeah. Pausing too much. Let the video play through, then let's discuss. So here's the thing. You can't just watch a video without it being transformative for it to be fair use. So I know a lot of, the funny thing is, like, I get complaints where people are like, you're pausing too much, you don't pause enough to, you know, comment or things like that. You just can't win. The reality is, in order for it to be fair use and properly, you know, not just taking away views from someone else, you have to be able to pause and comment on it. We're not Sniper Wolf over here where we just watch a video and go, ooh, that's amazing. No, I actually have to do the legitimate thing. But yeah. And also it'd be boring by you just sitting and watching. Exactly. If you want to go watch the video, you can totally go watch the video. I'm not stopping you by any means. I told you it's noise critical if you want to watch it individually. But if you want to see my commentary and enjoy it along with me, that's what we're here for. I'm not, you know, bad-mouthing anyone, but you have to understand, in order for it to keep in the confines also of fair use, you can't just watch the video. Fair use also is a very hard time to define, as no court has decided on what actually equals as fair use. Exactly. Which is why you at least want to sit there and, you know, make sure that you can have the argument to say that it is transformative. And I've already fought a few copyright claims from copyright trolls doing that.
Save sessions.
1 hour on this video.
In
It's not been that
case,
long.
The text didn't match the title, which means he most likely had a separate title.
Remember, like
for
30 or
those
40 minutes was
sections.
me doing coding and stuff and showing you the things I was doing.
And also, he said that he deleted it. If I was to, like, delete this, if I told this, don't save, delete it, Notepad would not restore it. At least, I don't think there's any way for it to, but maybe Lakari's working with a prototype Notepad that refuses to let anything die. It saves all work no matter what you tell it to do.
Okay, so on that note, if you do delete a file and Notepad tries to recover, at most you will get an error saying it could not find this file. That's at most you're going to get. So if he did in fact delete it, when he opened up Notepad, he would have had to have a notification to click away.
I find it unlikely, but I guess it's possible, potentially. Actually, here, let's play with that idea again real quick. Let's say Lakari went, I'll just go the quick brown fox jumped
Ever used
over
Notepad++?
the lazy log again.
Yeah, I've used Notepad++
I haven't
in the
saved or
past.
anything, but
But
let's
it's
just go
mostly
ahead and
Windows. Now I use
pretend
VS
that I
Code.
came here and I said, don't save. But once again, to show the whole process, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to close out of this. I'm going to reopen it, and it's still there.
Right.
Because it does save sessions like that. But If I came
Oh, I
over
like
here
Notepad++,
and I explicitly
it's
said
great.
don't save, and now I exit out of this, it will no longer open that.
Exactly.
So I find his claim very hard to believe.
Well, the point I was making is if he actually had the text file, deleted it, and then were to open up Notepad when it's trying to access said file. So Moist showed a different way, but either way, yeah. You like using it for configuring config files. Notepad++ is great, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to shun anyone that uses it. If you're actually looking for the Linux equivalent of Notepad++, it's called Notepad QQ. I don't use it. I've moved on to VS Code. I am of the mindset of I'd like to have the same tool on Windows, Mac, and or Windows and Linux and or Mac, if possible. Which is why I moved to Blinkdisk for my backups, why I use VS Code for a lot of my coding stuff, as well as it's got a lot of other capabilities that I do like. But yeah, it's, you know, like, I have no issue against Notepad++. You just use Nano? Yeah, just don't tell a VI or a Vim user. You did download Notepad QQ. Okay. I don't...
43K? And that's if they think it's like...
Okay, so I think this was the section that my friends were telling me where he went on to Grok. I wish we had more than potato quality clips. But he went on to Grok, asked it, like, because he's in Texas, the issue with the laws, and it's like, even if you have the hentai and stuff like that, it's apparently 43K of a fine or something like that in Texas. I'm not a lawyer. Don't quote me on this shit. Because Texas has some really effed up, you know, laws.
Oh my fucking god. Bro, it's not worth it. Just fucking delete my hard drive.
This is him on stream now looking at the legality of lolly in his state, Texas.
Correction. Apparently wasn't hentai. It was specifically lolly, which I'm going to be straight up with all of you. I side-eye anyone that is into lolly. Bleh. No. What did that just get held back? They limit how many dildos you can own. Oh yeah, that's been a known fact. What is it like? You can have I think what is it like at most 5 dildos in a house in Texas or something. I learned this because I lived in Dallas and I was dating a girl, and she informed me of this when we went to a store. You know, to have some extra fun times. Texas. Really effed up place. Lolly. Lolly is, Lolly is basically content of, shall we say, animated children that can be, you know, what would be the term? I guess the best, JBT, there you go, thank you. Jailbait teens, but anime. Exactly. And I side-eye anyone that's into that stuff. Because that's kind of like, that's where you're trying to find a gray line so you don't have to get in trouble IRL. She's going to put a dildo up your butt. Well, I mean, look, if Deadpool's into it, I'm sure I would be too. But no, I'm more of a top, I found out.
Doesn't fully understand what he's looking at, but he can recognize that it's not good, and then he eventually says that he's just going to delete his hard drive. It's not worth it. Now, call me crazy, maybe I'm on the crack pipe, but that just doesn't exactly sound like a statement from an innocent man. Like, if you've done nothing wrong and there's nothing suspicious, illegal, or like pedophilic or anything like that, why would you then be saying that you're going to delete your hard drive? It's not worth it.
I agree with that. Like, look, going back to the, you know, downloading things through private trackers of torrents and all that, I have nothing to hide. If anyone, you know, were to go searching through my hard drives, I'd be more worried about my sensitive financial documents and stuff like that, like any normal person should be, than what kind of content that are on my hard drives. I'm just being honest.
That's very fishy, I'll tell you. And again, from that leak, from that notepad, the things that have been allegedly turned up from all of it are fucking unforgivable. Like, really disgusting, terrible shit. And him then saying, like, just delete the hard drive, it's not worth it. Again, that doesn't really seem like behavior from someone that has nothing to hide.
And also, if he has an SSD, he's never really going to be able to delete it. You have to destroy the drive.
You're just writing your own narrative, man.
This isn't... By the way, that's not controversial info. This is information you actually have to learn in cybersecurity for data handling practices, because if you have sensitive data that your employer has, you're actually taught that you have to degauss the hard drive. But if it's a solid-state disk, you have to physically destroy the drive. There's shredders and all of that stuff for it. That's a cybersecurity lesson, but that's just the reality. I wanted cocoa, but I'm rationing it. Well, I'm just saying, if you cut the hot cocoa with whiskey, the hot cocoa will last longer. Huh?
What the fuck else do you want me to do? What do you want to do? I'm so sorry. I didn't do anything.
You've been cutting yours with peppermint vodka. Ooh.
That's why I'm not fucking crying and sobbing, bitch.
What kind of peppermint vodka?
Dumbass. You just want me to be guilty so fucking bad. Shut the
This seems like somebody that's crashing out because they actually, yeah.
up, retard. Jesus fucking Christ, I'm so sick of this.
Money now and everyone can eat. Get money in the daytime, even counting when I sleep.
Wake up to getting bread, bitch, I do this for the street. ADHD. I don't know why it cuts out. Thank you for that sub there. I'm Fasudo. Thank you, buddy. That's my brother from another mother. Thank you for that. 2 subs in 1 stream. Awesome. Not worth mentioning Smirnoff. Ooh. That's bottom barrel, girl. I know you. You're worth more than that, Abby. You had a Mexican.
Continued streaming for hours, so obviously people were talking about it for a long time. He snaps eventually and kind of goes ballistic about it, saying like he didn't do anything. Again, I find that kind of hard to believe given everything that happened on stream, at least from the surviving clips that are out there from it. It does not look good. This looks fucking awful. And Lakari got a ban on Twitch for all of this. Apparently he even got banned on Kick.
I was gonna say,
like actively streams
do you know how bad you have to be to get kicked off Kick?
on Kick, or if that was like a preemptive thing from Kick because they thought he'd go over there after he got banned on Twitch. I don't know, but if you try and go to Lakari's Twitch account, it has been removed as of right now in light of everything that happened during this stream. Again, I find it unlikely that this unfolded the way Lakari is claiming that it did, but I guess we'll see. I'm assuming there will probably be, an actual kind of investigation here, judging by what was allegedly
Let the investigation happen.
In some of that leaked from Lakari. Anyway, I had to yap about this a bit. Fucking crazy, man. That's really about it. See ya.
Okay. Back to the other videos. We spent enough time on that.
Back to the Papa Meat.
We have a few other videos here. Here we go. This was something that HBX brought up. Be aware drivers face $1,000 fines and jail time if they own theft-linked device under new high-tech law. Those caught with the device could face steep fines or even time behind bars. So what is this? A law change is set to stop carjackers in their tracks as vehicle thefts become more high-tech. It is now illegal to possess key programmers, duplicators, or signal extenders when there is intent to steal a vehicle or break into a building. So if the meaning is intent, if the law is just like around like the intent of having these devices, okay, I totally agree with it. But But, this is the big but. I like big butts and I cannot lie. Let's extend this to a little bit to the cybersecurity community. I like that Abby knew exactly where I was going. How's that Reddit mod with the power trip doing? Oh, there's another video on that. But onto the, lockpicks. I have lockpicks for legitimate reasons. One, I like to study locks, see how they work, and see what the vulnerabilities are. And once in a while, I have been part of a physical penetration test, giggity. But no, seriously. We do have to test the physical security of different buildings and, try to get into different things. So, lockpicks are part of that. Now, there are several states that merely having the possession of these is implying intent. As long as there's not the implication that by having the item, you are now a criminal unless otherwise, basically guilty until proven innocent, I don't see the issue with this. And knives in Colorado, generally 3.5 inches the max length, but longer knives for cooking and hunting is okay. Huh. You had a Mexican hot chocolate mix. I was tempted to break out my expensive tequila. It was processed in a certain way. Similar to how they process mezcal, but it's not mezcal. Ooh. I want it. But yeah, so this is really interesting because there is a legitimate use for key programmers, duplicators, or signal extenders in many cases, especially with us in cybersecurity because, well, we mess with a lot of these things. Offenders may also be hit with fines of up to $1,000. Anyone caught with these devices in criminal could face up to 6 months in county jail. I mean, it seems fair enough for that. Okay. Let me see. What's this video that we have here? A PV Pi solar battery for the Pi. Ooh! Solar battery for the Pi, like Raspberry Pi? That'll be great. This is from Luke Ditria. Hans shared this video in the chat, so let's see what this is about. If it'll load. Abracadabra! Alakazam! Well, we know it's not my internet.
I feel like it's been a little while.
I had to hit the play button.
There's a few things to have a chat about in this video. There isn't really any one thing I wanted to talk about, but just some of the things I've been working on and where we're going from here. So one of the big things is the Kickstarter, and that was for the PV Pi that we developed, Raspberry Pi hat that provides solar battery
that's nice.
for a lithium iron phosphate battery that we developed for remote off-grid applications where you might want to use a Raspberry Pi, and had a bunch of smart features that I talked about in a previous video. So for the Kickstarter, we had a goal of about $12,000, which was roughly about 100 boards, which is the sort of minimum that we thought was a good amount of boards to sort of make the project worthwhile. We ended up blowing past that in the first 48 hours and getting to, say, I think it was $48,000. I think some people dropped out in the end, but it was over 500 boards. So minimum.
You know, that would be great to have with Radio Berry Pi.
So thank you so much to everyone who supported us.
I'd love to have that hat on a Raspberry Pi, and if you can have the pass-through pins work, have it work with the Radio Berry, which allows you to do HF ham radio, because then you could have an off-the-grid HF setup on a Raspberry Pi that should be able, with a good antenna, to be able to hit a couple of states over.
Us by getting the PV Pi. Our manufacturer in Singapore is currently making the test boards. We've ordered about 20 of them first of the final production design just to test them and make sure that they can make them correctly and that our final design all works, and then we'll do the full production run sometime in the new year. I haven't talked too much about the Kickstarter and the work behind the scenes. Originally,
it looks really good. I'd be interested in this. I like that little project box he has.
To deploy the wildlife monitors and applications. I talked about in some of my videos how there wasn't really any good off-the-shelf solutions, and so we're looking into that and putting some money into that. But a lot of people were also interested in having something that did the solar battery charging most importantly for a Raspberry Pi because there wasn't really anything that was off the shelf. So originally I was going to try to take that work and
Are those
develop
power
the
poles?
hat for the Raspberry Pi myself. I've done a little bit of PCB design and manufacturing and had some boards made in China, but this was going to be a lot more complicated than anything I'd ever done before. So I started chatting with one of my mates who does PCB design sort of for a living at the company he works for, initially just to try and get his advice about what I should do. And eventually I managed to convince him to come on board. So that was Matt. He's an electronics engineer. He does PCB design, schematic design, and testing and stuff for a living at the company he works for. And he pretty much took over the PCB and schematic design for the actual PV Pi. And I really appreciate him coming on board. What the PV Pi is, even this prototype and the final production design, is another order of magnitude better than anything I could have done myself. He's brought a real level of professionalism and
Let's see that for a second. Yeah, look at that design. It looks really clean, really nice. Like, look at the thick gauge that goes on from the power over there for the solar power. It's really nice, clean. I love it. I'd be interested in getting this myself. My question is, which Pi is it for? Like, is it just 3B? Is it 3B plus 4? Is it, you know, compatible with the 5? Because I know there's some changes with the 5.
order of magnitude better than anything I could have done myself.
The thicker the gauge, the thicker the
professionalism.
I know where you're going with that.
I couldn't do. So if you really like the design and really like the final
thicker the
version,
richer.
He's really responsible for a lot of that. I've been more focusing on the firmware and the software design and also how we can incorporate this into some projects. But everything's on schedule. Again, our initial timeline was March, April next year, so we're still on track for that. While we're still on the PV Pi and the Kickstarter, I've had some questions about where you can buy the PV Pi or will you be selling them after the Kickstarter campaign. We do currently plan on continuing to sell them after we fulfill the backers. The plan at the moment is to get some additional boards with the production run. There's just over 500 that we need to fulfill from the Kickstarter campaign, and we're trying to.
What should do about that sooner?
To manufacturing more of the PV Pis to sell in the future. I've been meaning to put together a expression of interest form for anyone who.
That looks like a Raspberry Pi 5.
After the campaign.
I could be mistaken.
Still on the PV Pi, like I said, we've been working on some projects to try and test out the PV Pi in a real-world situation and give examples to people about what they could use it for. So I've redeveloped the mini AI wildlife monitor. A bit bigger now in order to accommodate the PV Pi as well as the Raspberry Pi Zero that's in there. Pretty much everything else is still the same, except now we've got an
Oh, it works with the Zero as well. Nice.
Detailing the development of this a little bit just through short form content. I'll eventually put together a whole long form video in the future, but for now, just some short form videos. I've got this version, some passive ventilation up at the top. And
so it looks like it's got a solar panel going in there. Charging it, and I would presume that's a lithium iron phosphate battery. I could be wrong, but I think that's a lithium iron phosphate.
Version, some passive ventilation up at the top and the bottom. And I've also got a version that has a heatsink that you can basically mount everything directly to.
Oh, that's nice.
Being able to directly sync the CPU and some of the MOSFETs to the actual heatsink. This is kind of analogous to mounting the electronics to
nice little 3D printed case I can see.
Heat through the actual standoffs. It's not as good, but it's a sort of good workaround for buying an off-the-shelf heatsink and also incorporating that, integrating that with a 3D printed enclosure, and it seems to work all right. So all of that stuff has actually been only sort of partly what I've been working on. The main thing has been focusing on developing out the edge compute wildlife detection, wildlife monitoring system. I've shown a little bit in my previous videos, these larger enclosures that are 3D printed, got more custom hardware as well as the Raspberry Pi, and has.
I don't know if I would really trust those enclosures in the weather we're currently experiencing with snow and everything. Not to knock him, it's just a limitation of 3D printing because you can have them hold up, but they're not going to be extremely well sealed unless you start annealing it. But that's a whole other thing.
Charging switchable outputs and a whole bunch of other things, and I've been developing that for sort of commercial application. I'm in conversation at the moment with some conservation groups and some other government groups who might be interested in trialing and using this in the field, so we've had a lot of good positive feedback. I've been trying to balance it out between sort of open source projects and some closed source projects, which is what these larger enclosures are, in order to make this project self-sustaining into the future. I really like making YouTube videos and content, but I really don't want to rely on YouTube for income, right, to support myself. I'd much rather focus on developing auto ecology and these projects so that we can not only bring you more Raspberry Pi hats and other Raspberry Pi accessories in the future for remote applications, but also the ultimate goal of having an all-in-one solution that we can maybe sell into the future. At the moment, it's really sort of low quantity bespoke solutions for people who are interested, and that's mainly because the cost of development at the moment is quite high. In the future, we really want to be able to produce something that is more mass producible, but we're quite a long way off that. So if you are interested in potentially buying or using or helping us develop that technology in your field or your company or whoever might be interested in using this technology for a project, let me know or contact me through the Auto Ecology website. We can have a chat and see what we can do. My plan for the future is to continue developing the PV Pi and those projects, as well as the wildlife monitors, to try and build up a hardware software ecosystem that we can use. And like I said, I really want to try and balance the open source and closed source nature to try and make sure these projects are self-sustaining and we can continue developing them in the future, because that allows me to work on them more full-time than the sort of part-time I've usually been working on them. But I also want to make sure that there are some open source solutions, even if those do sort of incorporate our own hardware. We want to be able to offer some cheaper or do-it-yourself solutions to spread the technology and to spread the ideas. If you have any ideas about how we could do this or how we could do it better, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your ideas. We've managed to develop quite a community, and I really have you to thank, not just for this YouTube channel, but also the Kickstarter. I know a lot of people came from my YouTube channel to support that Kickstarter, so again, really appreciate your support. We were really blown away by how fast we got to 100%, and even
overall, I think this is a pretty great project. I'd like to get one or two of those boards to start doing some stuff in my own projects. Like, I think that'd be perfect for me because I've been experimenting with the idea of Halo. If you weren't around when we talked about Halo, basically it's the ability to use LoRa on the ISM band, which is 902 to 928 megahertz in the USA, and you can propagate Wi-Fi over miles with it. And then basically, let's say you're in a disaster situation, you can cover miles of it, or you're in an area you have tons of land, and then one device from one end would basically have a LoRa device that's configured to do Halo as a Wi-Fi adapter, more or less. And then from there, you could have traditional, you know, repeaters into 2.4 or 5 or 6 gigahertz network. But basically, I think this is a great little gap there. Gap filler. So I could actually have a solar-powered version. Because I've always thought about, like, eventually I want to buy a house and have a few acres of land. I want to have Wi-Fi cover it for different kinds of sensors. How would I do that? How would I keep them powered? And I've always thought about solar power, but then comes to the question of how do I do that in a Raspberry Pi? And I've never really found a solution that I've been extremely happy with. And I think that might actually be the solution there. So I think that's really great. Thanks for showing that. All right, we got some short videos. All right, what is this? Hold on. No panic button. I love this dude. I found him on TikTok. So Vampire has that. Vampire shared this video with us.
Hey, boss, who are those people standing out by the road in front of your property with cameras and clipboards?
Oh, those are HOA agents. They know they're not allowed on the property anymore since they've been officially trespassed, but they can stand on the road and video in as much as they want.
Well, that's not very nice.
It's not nice, but it's legal.
Well, that's a pretty calm way to go about it, but what is this?
That is a chemical lure. You attach it to a bug zapper so that the mosquitoes just flock to it.
Yeah, but there must be 30 of them here. Do you even own a bug zapper?
Nope. What I'd like you to do is to put those on posts in 10-foot intervals all along the front of my property, please.
You want to distract mosquitoes without killing them? You know West Nile virus is supposed to hit hard this year. Anyone that spends a significant amount of time by that road is gonna... Boss, that's not nice.
No, it's not nice. But it's legal.
I love that. I love that. Oh, that's the level of petty that I aspire to. Yeah. Let's see. Oh yeah. There's this video over here. Someone made their own GPU. They made a GPU at home, and if I remember, they're using RISC-V for this. So this is kind of interesting.
I worked on this for months.
How do you guys deal with HOA? I don't have an HOA.
At first glance, it might look like a heavily botched SSD. But wait, what is this? Yeah, you guessed it. It's a 160-core RISC-V supercluster. What can it actually do?
Oh yeah!
And how did building it nearly break me?
Some strange state.
Find out in today's episode.
I don't know how this should ever work with 160 cores.
This project technically started a few years ago when I built a 256-core mega cluster. That were my first 4-layer PCBs, and a serious challenge. I tried to cram 16 MCUs onto a tiny module.
Give a pseudo HOA, that's a joke.
A 4x4 centimeter board packed with traces across all layers. What I didn't like? The densely packed surface mount pin headers. They bend easily, are expensive, and make the
Can it run Doom?
pain. Back then,
I'd be surprised if he doesn't try to make it run Doom.
In a small SOP package with tiny legs, so that size was as compact as it could get. Soon after, they released a smaller QFN version of the same chip. Still 48 MHz, 2 KB SRAM, and 16 KB flash. I tried a new design, but never made a video about it.
Those look like ISA slots.
Next time I'm going to use edge connectors.
Minimum requirements must run Doom.
Especially the ones with a 0.5mm pin pitch, like those in M.2 form factors. This year, I finally revisited the idea. I fell in love with the possibilities offered by M.2's exposed PCI Express lanes. I had tested the idea with my last M.2 Matrix project using a PCI Express serial interface chip. Serial is easy to access from the browser thanks to Web Serial, so I reused that interface and placed it on the bottom side of my board. But instead of jamming 32 MCUs on the top, I had a different idea. 10 vertical M.2 slots, each with its own modular board of MCUs. Each module could have a different configuration if needed. Spoiler, that turned out to be a terrible idea for many reasons, but more on that in a bit. I started laying out the modules. The goal? Root bus, IOs and power within a standard PCB budget. Exceeding those specs makes the manufacturing costs grow exponentially. In the end, I squeezed everything onto a 4-layer PCB,
like the open source,
64 components, 500...
Yeah, there actually is an open source project. I remember a while ago. I'll find it.
Pads, 413 vias, and countless 100 micrometer traces as thin as a human hair. After days of iteration, I got it down to 22.
I think this is it. The Fury GPU. Someone actually made their own GPU. And they had the... I think this was it. Hold on, I'll find it.
26 millimeters. And it looks amazing. About a quarter of the size of my old design. The 22mm width fulfills the M.2 spec. But the final height of the cluster is probably not.
Yeah, so the Fury GPU is open source. The one I just showed you, it is actually an open source GPU. I'd love to get my hands on it and just try it out. They managed to get it working at Quake with 60 frames per second, which I know that doesn't sound like amazing, but considering the fact of how complex a GPU is, that's freaking amazing.
Fortunately, this complexity added some costs. Each module comes at about $15 when ordering a batch of 20. But honestly, totally worth it. Now, these modules aren't pin compatible with the M.2 interface.
This makes me feel like I know nothing about computers now. Tell me about it.
I planned to use vertical connectors, and this is where the real trouble began. JC would be only able to source entire reels of this, and that would cost $500. I ended up finding a seller on AliExpress who offered them individually for a few bucks each. Which meant, yep, manual assembly. Piece of cake? Not quite.
Good God! Because he's on a hot plate. Oh, God.
Alright.
I usually refill one side of the board, then solder the other by hand. With minor success. Many pins didn't make contact and I had to retouch them all. But here, the pins on the vertical connectors
Good God!
were unreachable. Who designed this? Eventually, I wrapped a 1mm wire around my soldering iron tip to sneak between the connectors. This was finicky, but it worked.
Holy shit! Like, look how small that is! This is like micro soldering on a different scale.
You might have noticed some chips are missing. And there is a whole story to that. You have to rewind the time. Before I started with the cluster board, I made a programmer board to flash individual MCUs by powering them one at a time as they are sharing the programming pin.
Okay, let's
Wow.
try it in. I hope I didn't mirror the pins or whatever.
Magic blue smoke.
Side power switching would be a good choice.
It probably has dental loops with
Even
magnification.
though
Oh,
the MCUs had individual grounds,
there's probably
they were
even
still
more.
connected via bus lines and shared reset lines. What happened? The current found a way, likely through body diodes. MCUs started heating up randomly, but luckily none were permanently damaged.
Some strange state. All grounds are connected now.
So I had to power them all at once and try programming them together. I had done this before, and while it was tricky back then, this time it worked surprisingly well.
Ooh, alright.
What?
Complicated design to make Let's Blink. Yeah.
I wanted the host MCU to talk to all the 160 small ones individually over a single open drain bus without
So tiny, but
interrupting
guess
the
what,
rest.
bitch?
When I
It's
designed the
fucking
programmer
tiny,
board
boy.
first, I used the GPIO 0 pin as a trigger for
You
the
see the
start
Gamers
of the
Nexus
packet.
when they went to
However, during
Brothers
the design
Zhao
of the cluster
GPU
board, I
repair
changed
mod
my
shop.
decision to
Yeah, I
another
saw that.
pin. But
And
the
it wasn't a
programmer board was
5090, I think it was a
already ordered.
4090.
So I botched it. Luckily, the GPIOs I freed up from the now defunct low side switches came to the rescue. I reused all 16 of those to make the programmer behave just like the cluster.
Wow.
Alright, here we go. Yeah.
That would make me nervous, even if that's an animal-coated wire. Because, like, you could easily short something.
I pre-programmed each MCU with a fixed index in the option bytes that represents its
No, that's not enamel-coated. That's just straight copper. Like, look at that. Holy shit, that would make me nervous.
position in the array. Now we could even use the whole thing as a 3D LED matrix. Or for debugging,
I've done
we could
micro soldering, I
identify
hate it.
which of the
I've done it
physical
once when I had to
MCUs
fix my badge from Aerospace Village.
Me to anonymous phone calls. My car warranty expired 20 years ago and I'm still not interested in extending
My
it. If
asshole's
you're tired
because of
being
this
spammed
guy.
every single day, calls, emails, even physical mail, then today's sponsors Incogni is here to help. Now I make plenty of questionable decisions in my lab.
NVIDIA
and I
trying to
fully
make us
embrace
rent
them for your
GPUs and consumers.
entertainment.
Fine, I'll do
But
it myself.
admit, I was
Exactly.
sloppy with my personal data in the past. I filled out one of those sketchy win a car forms. I didn't win the car, but data brokers definitely won my info. Suddenly I was getting spammed from every direction. It got so bad I snapped at a real business caller thinking it was spam again. I'm still ashamed of that moment. And it's not just annoying. Some of these data brokers collect everything.
Have you ever done SD card repair with those teeny tiny needles? I have not. I have a friend that's done it for me. We had some SD cards with his wife that passed away, and the cards were not working, so we had to do micro SD recovery with that. It was such a tedious process.
I tested it myself, and honestly, I was surprised. Within minutes of
I feel like anytime I do any type of micro work, I basically am going cross-eyed.
started suppressing new ones before they could even access my info. There are multiple plans. The standard plan covers you with automated removals, monthly updates, and 24/7 support. The family plan extends that up to 4
You do micro work every night.
And the ultimate plan...
We know
gives you
you're talking
custom
about
removal
yourself, buddy.
requests from any data broker or site. It's risk-free to try for 30 days and cancel anytime. Take your personal data back with
Microelectronic
Incogni.
surgeon
Use
work.
code
Oh, it may as well
at the
be.
link below and get 60% off an annual plan. And now, back to the project.
Hacker mode activated.
To show what the cluster is capable of, I implemented Array Marcher. That was a rabbit hole on its own.
Moment of truth.
Wait, this is HTML?
No!
The plan? Render a scene with reflections and shadows distributed across all MCUs. Each MCU would take care of a pixel at a time.
What?
In the browser, this worked fine. Translating it to C++ for the MCUs? Way harder. These tiny RISC-V cores had a rudimentary instruction set. No floating point, no square root, not even integer multiplication or division. But with fixed point math, I got it working.
I would say for one MCU, that's not bad.
Kind of.
It breaks when sending, and only like 4 are working at the same time.
I had each MCU light up its LED.
That's mind-blowing.
But remember those hair-thin traces? Too many LEDs at once caused brownouts.
It died completely. No timeout anymore? What?
That took me a while to discover.
I don't know how this should ever work with 160 cores. Uh-oh. Oh no!
I was using a 200 ohm LED resistor which drew too much current, so I switched the LED GPIOs from push-pull to using the internal pull-up instead. The LED lit up faintly, but the current draw was dramatically reduced, and it solved so many issues I haven't even diagnosed yet.
Interesting.
Now I uploaded the code without the blink, so here LED timeout is off. Ping again. Is it connected? Ping. Bam. Everything works.
Wow.
What? Rendering error here. What we have done?
Couple little artifacts, but wow, that's amazing.
Already too fast. This is real time. I can see in real time how the image is built.
Should we try this board?
This reminds me of when I was a little kid and, you know, you'd be wanting to look up when you're going through puberty. You'd want to look up pictures of boobs, and the internet was not that fast back in the day, so you would literally get line by line and were hoping that you didn't get trolled. If you're old enough to know what I'm talking about, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
With 160 MCUs at the same time. I never tried it though.
Oh, we're gonna have multiple ones now.
Something was still off. Using more than one module caused the system to crash or reset.
We lose like 2
power draw
at the end, or even more.
Sometimes the last 3 MCUs on each module wouldn't respond. That triggered a memory. GPIO C13 to 15 are special, limited in speed and current. I had used them due to GPIO shortage. Big mistake. To fix it, I repurposed GPIOs from the old low-side driver circuit that I didn't populate and replaced the problematic pins. Forging these is, again, another level.
Okay, let's try the ping.
Finally, for the first time, all 160 MCUs responded correctly.
All green! Yes!
Wow.
Yeah!
But did they perform? The ray marcher ran. But the colors were wrong.
Ooh.
It was devastating.
And we have some flipped bytes here. Or
But after some thought, I realized the view vectors sent to the MCUs were correct. The scene geometry was fine. Only the returned color data was corrupted. I used my debug tool to ping an MCU with extra data attached, testing each of the data lines. And sure enough, some bits wouldn't echo properly.
Interesting.
Specifically low to high side transitions. Here's the issue. I used an open drain bus where each GPIO can only pull low. There's an external pull-up resistor to bring the signal high. This avoids shorts when multiple MCUs try talking at once. But the 10K pull-ups were too weak for the megahertz signals. The signal rise time was too slow, resulting in false lows. I tried 1 kilo ohm pull-ups, but the already underpowered MCUs couldn't handle the current and stopped working entirely.
Yeah.
That's not working.
My compromise? Add a delay on the host side to let the signal settle. That worked and all colors were now correct. But still, I had 2 modules dropping out. After testing and swapping slots, I suspected bad solder joints. Patching up a few cold-looking pins fixed the issue eventually. And finally the cluster was fully functional.
Oh yeah!
Wow, look at that.
At this point, several times I wanted to give up. I'm glad I didn't. I guess solving those puzzles and going through this emotional roller coaster, a success is even more rewarding. But how successful is it? The ray marcher didn't look any faster than running on a single module. And that's
I was gonna say.
The port is the bottleneck. The interface chip should support up to 8 megabits, but I haven't been able to get it working yet. If anyone out there has figured this out, let me know. Until then, I can either increase the rendering complexity to utilize the MCUs more, or try compute-heavy low bandwidth tasks like hashing. So I built a SHA-256 hashing benchmark.
Huh! Interesting!
SHA-256 is an algorithm that crypto miners use. Not that I support that waste of energy, but it's a good benchmark, and it worked amazingly. The 160 MCUs combined actually
Well, SHA-256 is also done for general cryptography as well, in terms of hashing, you know, for verifying things. So, like, when you download a file, you do a SHA-256 sum so that you can actually see if it's in fact proper, and you check the integrity of a file. But SHA-256D is what Bitcoin is using. But yeah.
Found my 8-core desktop CPU. At just 7 milliamps per core at 3.3 volts, the whole cluster draws under 4 watts. That's pretty competitive for the hash rate. So what do you think we should use it for? This project took way more time, effort and emotional energy than I expected. There were so many failures, but just as many lessons learned. I hope I was able to inspire you and maybe even teach a few things through my mistakes. You will find all the design files and code linked below. Just don't send the design to a fab before fixing it. If you appreciate this kind of content, consider subscribing or sharing with a friend. And thanks to my supporters, you have been incredibly patient waiting for signs of life. I see you next time. Bye.
That's really cool. Trying to see, you got the GitHub sponsors there. There's a Mastodon. Definitely have to follow him. That's really cool. Trying to see if he had like a Git. Oh, there it is. So he hasn't updated this in a while. But I'm curious to see what other projects he has. T800 CPU? I like how it says, probably fixed now. Let's see. I should be able to, because I'm not logged into Mastodon on Florp because I forgot to do that. I don't want to exactly do that right now. See if I can find him to follow. BitLooney. Bam. Interesting. Cool. That was an interesting video. Oh yeah, so we did see the Reddit mod video. Xiaomi is why Apple should have made a car. Okay, that's a long video. Mods, put a pin in that one for me. I definitely want to watch this later, but that's like a 40-minute video. Let's see, but we do have this article that Hans shared. European Union plans a new move against Huawei, as it could exclude Chinese telecom giant from the bloc's mobile network through new cybersecurity rules. Brussels has proposed a draft which targets potential national security threats to the European Union by revising the Cybersecurity Act following the rise in cyber and ransomware attacks and growing concerns over foreign interference, espionage, and the EU's reliance on third-party tech companies. Huh. Well, I know the US has already banned Huawei. I'm kind of torn on this because there is some regulation inside of China that was questionable. I can't remember specifically what it was, but I remember when I was looking into it, I was like, why would they do that? But I don't want to hate on Chinese tech just because they're Chinese. There's some great things out there, and I do want to see them bring competition to the entire global market, because Nvidia was shocked when they're like, hey, we're going to sell these devices to China, and even Trump okayed it, and China's like, we don't want it. And they're developing their own stuff. But yeah. Alright, so we got a couple of videos. Let's see, these are shorts. What's this? How my code base written entirely with Claude code runs. I mean, if it works, it works. Okay. Next video. Oh yeah, this was another video I want to talk about. I think this is the one where Washington State is actually trying to ban 3D printing, because you might be able to 3D print a gun. Imagine that. Hold up. You might be able to 3D print a gun. Oh no, the horror. Wait, why is that? Oh, it's the thing. But yeah. Yeah, imagine that. It's New York. Oh, is it New York? Well, guess what? We're in freedom country.
Welcome.
Oh, and I just want to say before I start this video, my stance is that code is free speech, and therefore no code should be barred from being able to be reviewed, studied, modified, or, in many cases, used. Now, the intent behind said code is a whole different thing.
The studio. I've been telling you this was coming. On Twitch, I predicted it. And in my short films, I wrote stories about a world where the government restricts printers and controls filament. I
think we even talked about this earlier on in my streaming days, about how I think they're going to try very short-sighted ideas to ban 3D printing because you may 3D print something that, you know, could possibly harm someone.
A video last week about a fictional future where 3D printing is illegal. But this proposed law up on the screen?
Oh, so I was right. It's Washington State, vampire. It's not New York. It was Washington State.
This isn't fiction. This is Washington State House Bill 2321. And if this passes, the dystopian future I write about starts on July 1st, 2027.
Now that all filament is regulated by the DDR, getting my hands on some 2.85mm filament isn't exactly legal.
Today we are going to walk through this bill. I'm going to translate the legalese into plain English so you understand exactly what they're trying to do to your machine.
It wasn't vampire, it was Just Dev.
This bans more than just 3D printers. It's coming for your CNC machines and lasers too. And we need to talk about why, as a security professional with 20 years in the industry, I can tell you that this technology is a privacy nightmare waiting to happen.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, let's get to work. Before we tear this bill apart, I want to remind everybody why we are here. 3D printing is science fiction made real. It allows anyone, anywhere, to pull an idea out of their imagination and hold it in their hand. Just last month, we finished our 5th annual LM Show Christmas print drive. Because of this technology, we served over 5,000 children. Children in hospitals, shelters, youth groups. We use these machines to bring joy. And that is really what 3D printing is about. But this bill isn't about that. It's written by legislators who likely don't understand the industry, the community, or even the technology.
That's the problem with most laws. If they're passed by legislators that don't know jack shit about the industry they're trying to regulate. There are a bunch of attorneys that don't understand it. They don't want to bring in the experts to actually explain to them the shortcomings of their ideas and everything. I think they even forget that there's open source 3D printers, that we have entirely the access to the code base, the hardware, the build of materials, everything to build those 3D printers. And this is an unenforceable law because I think, we haven't gone into this yet, they're probably going to be requiring some kind of technology, particularly probably AI, because that's the buzzword, that is going to detect if you're trying to 3D print a gun and then block it. Or they're just going to outright ban 3D printers to the point that, you know, your corner guy is going to come around with a trench coat and be like, yo, I got that Prusa for you. You need that good? You need that bamboo? I got that reality if you're on a budget. You know, that guy with the trench coat be walking around. Instead of you selling crack, he gonna be selling you 3D printers.
This is about politics, and unfortunately, 3D printing is caught up in the crossfire. For those of you in a rush, here is the short version. If passed, Washington House Bill 2321 mandates that by July 1st, 2027, no 3D printer can be sold or transferred in Washington state unless it contains blocking features.
Called it!
Must use a government-controlled database to detect and stop the printing of firearm parts. If a manufacturer does not comply, they cannot sell here. If a YouTuber like me wants to review a new printer after that date and it doesn't have the government spyware installed, I can't have it. But the devil is really in the details. Let's read the text. First, let's look at who this affects. You might think, hey, I just have a Bamboo Lab or a Prusa. I'm fine. Well, look at this definition. This bill defines a 3D printer as a machine capable of additive manufacturing.
Oh, fuck!
Catch this. Subtractive manufacturing.
Oh, fuck! It's including CNC as well. Do you know how much this is gonna fuck up dentistry? Like, my background was dental, okay? So, dental IT and all that. So, you're gonna have to have Sirona, Armin Gerbach, all these different companies have to put a database inside their subtractive manufacturing mills so that they don't possibly use a gun, even though they're physically not capable of it because they maybe work on pucks this size or metal 3D printers in the dentistry space for bridges and aligners. This is going to fuck up a lot of businesses and industries with rapid prototyping. I thought this was just going to be like a 3D print and all that. No, they definitely, may as well have just been like, you know what? Just put that dildo right up my ass. Okay?
Translation, this isn't just about plastic squirters. Subtractive manufacturing means CNC machines. It means lathes.
Oh, lathe too!
Cutters.
Oh, I didn't even think about lathes. Laser cutters. This is literally every manufacturing technology, if you think about it.
Any machine that takes computer instructions to modify an object is technically swept up in this. Do you run a machine shop? A print farm? A small business with a laser engraver? You are in the blast radius. Now, let's look at how they want to stop you. Section 6 requires those blocking features that use a firearm blueprint detection algorithm. This algorithm is supposed to screen every file, STLs, CAD files, even G-code before it prints.
But how is it going to be able to process G-code without actually having basically a full computer in there to re-render the entire thing? But G-code doesn't necessarily give you the full item because G-code has a lot of instructions on there that are specific to the printer, like warming your bed and, every little action, and it's basically XYZ coordinates. G-code from one printer can be different from one machine to another because the M codes and everything can differ. Yeah, CNC too, Scooby. Yeah, CNC's included in this. Laser engraving, like a CNC punch, any kind of manufacturing, essentially, would have to be, able to render the files that are being printed to detect if it's a firearm. And here's the thing. How does it know, let's get beyond the even theoretical, the actual reality of this even being possible, which it's not. How would it be able to differentiate between a replica firearm for, say, a movie prop and, let's say, a squirt gun, a rubber band gun? Or how does it actually know if it's a true firearm part? Like, if you look at a lower receiver for a firearm, for like an AR-15, if any of you are not familiar with them, I'll bring one up so you can see AR-15 lower. Okay? if you were to look at, let me see if I can find one that I can bring up full page of. Give me 1 second. That might work. Copy image link. Okay, that'll work. So let's say, ignore the laser engraving and all of that. This is still a mostly completed lower. Imagine that little firearm selector there and the trigger guard are gone, and all of that information is gone. Does that look like a firearm to you? And there's a whole thing when it comes to, you know, if you manufacture your own gun, you can get what is called an 80% lower, which by definition of the ATF is a paperweight. If it still has to be milled out by 20%. And then at that point, what you would do is you would take a jig with a CNC, and you would, a CNC or a router or a mill or something like that, and then you would cut it out. No. Legally speaking, a lower that's an 80%, let me see, 80%. Let me get a specific 80%. Here. This should work. Let me get a bigger picture. Probably helps if I find a large one through Google. Okay, let's see. Yeah. Okay, copy image link. That should do. So this, does that look like a firearm to you? That is what's called an 80% lower. According to the ATF, the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Federal Administration, this is legally classified as a paperweight. It is not a firearm. How would it know that that is? An 80 in a firearm, it still has to drill out that channel there. There's a couple of holes it has to punch. But essentially, you can CNC with a drill, a jig, things like that, finish it up, and then build an entire rifle. But for the ATF purposes, the firearm is the lower when fully completed. Everything else is just an accessory, basically. I mean, there's the upper receiver and things like that. But yeah. Put an orange tip on it, it's 100% legal. Yeah. But this is just how bad this law is. Because how is it going to know the difference between what is legally a paperweight and what is not? What is a squirt gun? What is a rubber band gun? What is a tic-tac gun? This is bad.
Translation, they want your printer's firmware to act as a gatekeeper. Before your machine moves a single motor, it has to check your file against a database that's managed by the Attorney General. And it goes deeper.
So your printer would have to be internet connected?
The software that you use on your PC will likely need a handshake code to verify that they are compliant. If you have an old version of Cura, blocked. If you use an open source slicer that refuses to add this spyware, blocked. Now, I've spent over 20 years in information security and software development. I started my career 25 years ago as a professional hacker. I know how this type of software works, and I know what features like this actually cost. The bill requires detection to be highly reliable and resistant to circumvention. To achieve that, the printer needs an up-to-date database. How does it get that?
Internet.
It needs to phone home. This creates a massive privacy risk. To authenticate that update, your printer will likely need to send data, serial number.
Not only that, it's going to increase the cost of the printer because essentially you'd have to have a computer attached to it. Because, like, if you look at my Prusa, the Mark III S's I have modified, yeah, they're a little bit old, but they're basically Arduinos. You have to attach a Raspberry Pi to enhance the features.
Of course, your IP address, and maybe even user account information. This is a slippery slope. Today, it's checking for a firearm shape Tomorrow, maybe it flags a false positive on a car part you designed. Maybe the database query logs what you're printing. This bill creates the infrastructure for surveillance inside your own home or workshop. It is a complete overreach of privacy. And let's be real about the circumvention. Any software lock can be broken. The only thing this law really achieves is hurting law-abiding makers and driving companies out of the state. Hold on, let me interrupt. Right in the middle of this edit, I had a thought, and it's about Bamboo Lab and how Bamboo Lab, if this bill does pass, Bamboo Lab is actually in probably the best position because you all saw that last year, Bamboo created the authentication mechanism between Bamboo Studio and their Bamboo Lab printers. And
to make your own 3D printer out of a Mindstorm Evo.
Through some hooks. But if this were to pass, I think Bamboo Lab is likely just going to lock down the machines to Bamboo Studio only. And then they could quite literally integrate that checking into the slicer.
Ew.
So we'll see. I don't know. That would be probably the least expensive and easiest route for these 3D printer companies to comply.
But the most disgusting part is, do you know how much processing your computer is going to have to do to verify that the file is what it says it is? Because if you make a modification in your 3D render, your CAD cams, your CAD software, yeah, this is really not well thought out.
We might see some type of third-party option or solution where some company comes along, has some sort of AI camera and something that is able to be added onto 3D printers, or that some of these 3D printers adopt. Anyway, I'll get back to the video, but...
I know what Lego Mindstorm is. I had one of the first ones.
What do you think is the future in 3D printing if this does happen, if this bill passes? And how bad do you think it will get? Could this quite literally destroy shops and hobby 3D printing? Will it, I mean, are we taking out lathes and CNC machines?
I think it would destroy a lot of businesses.
What do you think? Discuss. Comments. I'll hang out there. All right, back to the video. Now, let's talk about the First Amendment. In 2018, Defense Distributed reached a settlement with the U.S. State Department. While it wasn't a Supreme Court ruling, it resulted in digital blueprints being effectively treated as protected speech. Code is
free speech.
Designing an object is expression. Blocking my ability to print a shape is a violation of that expression. And for what? Public safety? Let's look at the data. The number of confirmed homicides involving a fully 3D printed firearm is effectively 1. Criminals use cheap, stolen traditional firearms. This bill is solving a movie plot problem while ignoring real violence. It is pure political theater, and we are the props. So, what happens if it passes? Do you think companies like Bamboo Lab, Prusa, or Creality are going to spend millions developing special Washington State Edition firmware that carries huge legal
They're going to pull out.
No, they will simply stop.
They're going to pull out like the parents of all of these politicians' dads. All their dads of the politicians should have pulled out in the first place. Any politician that thinks that this is a good idea should have never been born. Your mom should have swallowed, and your dad should have pulled out. Okay? That is my official statement. You can, clip that. You can do whatever you want with it. But that's what I'm saying about this.
Shipping here. They will stop shipping to New York, where a similar bill is brewing. And as a content creator, this hits home. If brands can't ship to Washington or New York, then we can't review the latest tech. I can't show you what's new. But more importantly, you can't innovate. Schools can't teach, small businesses can't prototype. We lose our technological edge because of fear-based legislation.
Not even China seems to be doing this kind of stuff.
Voices are never heard. I know it feels like the system is broken, but this is the system that we have. And I'm asking you, especially those of you in Washington and in New York, to contact your legislators. But listen to me. Do not scream. Do not rant. Write them politely. Tell them you're a maker. Tell them about the Christmas gifts that you print. Tell them about your small businesses. Explain that this bill hurts.
If I can give you some advice from ranting to politicians and everything, rant to an LLM, tell them you're writing a letter, and then have it format it in a way that actually makes sense. I've actually gotten some good success there hitting up politicians that way. It cleans out all my profanity. I've heard a year or two ago Canada was trying to do the same thing. Well, Canada's not even a real country anyway, okay? I don't mean that in the Trump way. I mean that in the South Park way, just to be clear.
Families, schools, not criminals. Educate them. Because right now, they are operating in the dark.
It's a joke, by the way.
I've linked the information on the bill below, along with resources on how to find your representatives. We are all in this together. Share this video, not for the views, but because people need to know that the freedom to make is being threatened. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one. Oh, and by the way, YouTube, it wants you to go watch this one. And hopefully it's my dystopian future where 3D printing is banned and illegal. It's good.
Yeah, this is effed. This is totally effed. What video did you just send me? Let me take a look at this. Hold on. What did you just send me? Copy text. You actually found someone that made a 3D printer out of Lego Mindstorms. Ha! Okay, we gotta watch this. I think we got time for a video or two more.
I have made plenty of 3D printers before, or to be exact. But in my previous attempt, I said this.
This is made from Lego and 3D pen, so you won't be getting it any better than this.
And I took that personally. So, a quick recap. I made my first 3D printer, or actually more of a 2D printer, 6 years ago, when I looked like this. But this was genuinely terrible. The whole thing moved around and it could either print a square or a ladder for some reason. So a few weeks later, I sat down with my dad to build an actual 3D printer, which I then programmed to print little houses. But this was not enough. So a couple of months later, I wrote my first Python code so that I could print anything, just the same way any 3D printer could. And it was still bad, and the code contained major mistakes. But hey, that's okay. So finally, 2 years later, I wanted to make things right. I built another 3D printer and fixed some of the fatal mistakes in the previous code, and the results spoke for themselves. Now the prints actually resembled the 3D models. However, to say that you won't be getting it any better than this,
so you won't be getting it any better than this,
is a bit of a stretch. Which brings us onto today. So for the ultimate 3D printer, I'm going back to running the code directly on the Mindstorms brick, making it a standalone device. And for
I miss the Mindstorms. Those were great. I did a Lego Mindstorms with an R2D2 like back in the day. That was one of my first kits. They were like $300. My parents got me it as a gift, and they never really said no to anything that was educational related. They never said no in that regard. They had more questions around gaming than me getting a computer that could do gaming, because there was a lot of applications I could do with that computer, and I wasn't just gaming on it, though it was a good chunk of it. I was actually, you know, as you know, I got into IT and cybersecurity, so yeah.
A little different plate, but it's all bent and sticky, and I want a new one. This is a sample tile of the floor in this room, and I'm going to cut out a nice 16 by 16 plate, which we will use as the printing bed. So let's cut it out. So how big is this plate? Exactly 5 inches. That is so much nicer than the centimeter variant. 12.8 centimeters or exactly 5 inches. This is the first time I'm going to use inches. Pencil. Okay.
You heathen! Metric is superior!
Look at this. I'm going to make a pencil appear out of thin air. There it is. Yeah.
And my parents
In
encouraged me
theory,
just
this
like
is
that.
exactly
Yeah,
a baseball.
me too.
This is not a very sharp knife. It's okay. And now this breaks off. Should fit within this. And it does. Okay, now that we have our beautifully cut new printing bed, let's put it in a frame and make the y-axis.
You know how long it's been since I played with Legos?
For the y-axis.
Wait, they have little screw, they have screws now in Lego? What? Man, they've added a lot of stuff to Legos since I, was playing with Legos. If only my mom wasn't to see you next Tuesday and I could go get my 2 tubs of Legos that were there. I'm sad about that.
And what makes it better than the previous 3D printer is that it uses these screw pieces, which makes for a very smooth linear movement, instead of these gear X that the previous 3D printer used. Inside of this we can place our printing bed like so. So let's put a case around it and put a motor on that.
Those are old screws from 2014. Interesting.
And some beams. Okay, put that on there. I always like to have this like gray border at the bottom. I don't know, it just makes it stand out from the ground or something. And that is our y-axis. Okay, but this is still quite difficult to turn, so I think we're gonna do a little gear reduction. So I also want to make sure that it doesn't move from side to side, so we're going to add something to keep it in place. Like this, so now we cannot move it side to side anymore. So the next upgrade we're going to add to this printer is this touch sensor, so that we can automatically find the position of the bed.
Now they got a lot new sensors since I did Mindstorms as a kid.
Now it touches. And finally, let's add the motor, completing the y-axis. This is very smooth. So now that we have the y-axis, I think this is a great time to start working on the x-axis. For the x-axis, we need a 3D pen to be connected to it. But this is the pen that I used for the previous 3D printer, but it's not really that great. So I bought a new pen, and this one should hopefully be a lot better. It's also quite square, which is nice, I guess, for the Lego compatibility.
Yeah, I guess if you need to hold it.
So let's see if we can create a mechanism to move this pen around. I got straight to work trying to find the exact Lego pieces that fit the 3D pen perfectly. And eventually, I did end up finding something that I'm actually quite proud of. So this is what I came up with. It is by far the most compact 3D printer head I've ever designed. But we have these familiar screw pieces on the side for a very smooth movement, and we have it on both sides actually, so that we have an extra stable mechanism, as you can see. And to control the 3D pen, I have this green mechanism here on the side. There's a very tiny rotating mechanism in there that pushes the extruder button on the 3D pen. All of this fits basically within as small of a footprint you can get. So I'm really proud of this mechanism. I actually did end up changing it a little bit because of some problems, but the main idea remains the same and the x-axis works just fine. So I got the y-axis done, as you can see.
What the hell?
And it is way smoother than my previous 3D printer.
That is pretty smooth.
But this motor is kind of blocking like any mechanism that is over here. So for the z-axis, I might go back to what I did for my previous 3D printer. So instead of having the motor on here, I will have it on here.
Yeah, let's just break your Lego.
This is where
like,
I really just...
For anyone that's built a 3D printer, breaking your 3D printer mid, build is one of the worst feelings, and you gotta baby those things.
To work and stayed at work. I kept building for hours and hours on end, until the z-axis was finally in a state that I liked. So this white machine is the new 3D printer.
That's interesting.
Pretty much assembled, but there's still a few things that we need to do before it's actually done. For one, I already added the touch sensors for the X and Y axis, but we still need to add one for the Z axis. So let's do that right now. So now all of the motors and sensors are on the machine, but one thing we still need to do before this machine is actually done is add this massive spool on top of the machine somewhere so that we can feed the filament into the 3D pen. So I added the spool holder onto the 3D printer, and first I added these cross beams across the top so that it is a lot sturdier. And also for some reason these Lego tires fit perfectly within this spool, so it's a very smooth rotating spool, which is amazing. So now we basically have only one
pretty
thing left to do
interesting.
until this 3D printer is complete, which is adding on the computer and the wires.
Still probably the smoothest 3D printer build that I've ever seen. He probably did it in less time than it took me to build my first Prusa. One bolt wasn't tightened all the way down and it's split in half.
And there it is.
Falling both ways, yep.
Well, let's just say a significant amount of clicking Lego bricks together, the hardware is finally complete. I love the way it looks. It is kind of similar to the previous design, but way sturdier and way smoother. But as we all know, a fancy machine like this is just a fancy paperweight without the code to run it. And if you remember my previous attempt, able to print everything, but with a lot of flaws in the code, still having to do a lot of things manually and being very inaccurate. Let's just say there was plenty of eyeballing and hoping for the best. This time though, I want to do it properly. First up, usability. I used to have to change the code every single time I wanted to print a different file, which was very annoying to do, and one of the reasons why I only printed Pikachu for my previous 3D printer. This time though, I want to print more. How are we going to do that? Well, step 1, a file selector. I know, nice, check this, step 1. That is, yeah. Now I can just load a bunch of G-code files onto the brick and pick the one I want to print.
Man, those Mindstorm computers have really picked up since I first did it.
I know. Step 2, precision. I know this is kind of a weird shot, but I tried to be creative here, okay? Just bear with me. A big problem was that the printer had absolutely no idea where it was when it started. You had to manually set the home position and then it just kinda went for it. But this time, auto-homing. Before every print, the
auto-homing on a Lego 3D printer, really?
Until they hit the touch handles. This tells the printer exactly where its 0 point is. And that is all very nice, but what about...
That's basically the same thing what a Prusa does when you set it up to calibrate X, Y, and Z. It finds where the stop is on the motors.
3. Well, this is all behind the scenes, because the code is completely new. I structured it properly this time, and the code is now modular. And very importantly, I swapped out the old "that looks about right" measurement system for actual calculations based on...
And he's doing it in Python, interesting.
You know, math. It turns out it's actually quite useful. Oh, and bonus step. While it's working its magic, you get this nice little progress percentage. It tells you exactly how far along the print is. A nice little...
Just like my Prusas do.
Yeah, I know. So, we've got a user-friendly file system. Precise.
Soon about to make a PC entirely out of feathers.
And actual math. I know. Which, when you put it all together in the best Lego chassis like this, makes it the world's best Lego 3D printer. And I'm not even kidding. Is it really better than every other Lego 3D printer around the world? Well, there is really only one way to find out, is there? Let's print Pikachu version 3.0.
And you do realize that printer would be illegal in Washington State. He would have committed, basically a felony in Washington State if that bill passes. Because it can't tell if, you know, you have a gun file. It's even got a little countdown timer. Oh, that's neat. Well, that's pretty good for a first layer, knowing the limitations of this device. That's actually pretty good definition. I mean, definitely got some stringing going on there, but it's a pen, so... Chief buys Lego after stream. I am ADHD. I would not need an excuse to go buy Legos, but yeah, I probably will. After I buy some other shit.
I am very happy with the end result. It is so much more detailed than the previous model. You can make the eyes, the tail is actually the correct size, and you can...
Considering that it's a pen and the limitations of a 3D pen, that's, I think, about as good as you'll get it.
...with the individual surfaces of the low poly model. All things the previous model didn't have. Also, I won't even bother comparing it to the previous model, as they are just way different.
And yet he does anyway.
Small Pikachu is great for comparison. I think this printer can take on more. So let's take it up a notch by making it bigger, for example. I have a couple of prints lined up for you, including a multi-part print. Enjoy.
Oh, of course, you gotta make Bodhi. Oh, that's cool. Considering the mechanical limitations of this printer, I'd say this is actually really damn good. Wow.
So there is actually one advantage to creating a 3D printer using a 3D pen, which is that you can easily print the model in multiple bigger parts. Really? You can use the very same 3D pen to fuse the parts together, just like this Eiffel Tower.
Oh, that makes sense.
That is beautiful.
Look at that.
Besides printing beautiful sculptures, it can also be
Bodhi McBoatface.
I have been using this Lego phone stand for years now, but now I realize, why use Lego bricks to build a phone stand, when you can use Lego bricks to build a 3D printer, which you then use to make a phone stand.
I just had a thought. Since he has a 3D printer now, he can use that 3D printer to start 3D printing parts to make his new 3D printer. Make it a rep wrap. See what I'm saying there? Ah! Bam! Totally usable.
So that concludes this journey. The code will be available in the description for you to try out. And while you're down there, make sure to let me know in the comments what you would like me to build next. And also, consider liking the video.
I just said what I want him to build next. Use that Lego 3D printer to start 3D printing parts to make a 3D printer, and then just iteratively start making a better 3D printer. Just keep doing that, like the original 3D printers. The rep wraps. It's open source, too. Does he have the documents for it? Yeah. Look at that. He does have it there. Well, it's the Python code. Oh, there we go. Wow. You totally could make this yourself. It's clever. Okay. Let's see. Let's get one more video in. Generations of Wi-Fi have led to this. Okay. I'm going to have to put a note in that for later. It's a little bit long. Yeah, we got some shorts over here. I looked it up as a joke, too. Of course you did.
I just wanted to share my chili recipe.
Ugh.
So freaking.
Ew! That looks like food poisoning if it were a dish.
Do me a favor, gatekeep. Yeah, like you got this recipe out of a lawn care catalog. Like you slow simmered Shrek House, fam. This look like freshly cut grass and rodent poop. I don't want none of that.
I just wanted to share my.
This is good for you. This is like the kind of person that if you open their cabinet, you find out their spices are salt and pepper. Ugh. Okay, what is this? We still yearn for 2016 house parties. Oh, yes!
When and if this generation gets older, do you think in 10 years we'll be looking back at 2026 like, wow, what a great year that was? You know, like we're doing with 2016 right now? Probably not. In fact, we'll probably look back like, wow, that was the year the American Empire fell. But we did get 2 new Game of Thrones shows, so, you know, you win some, you lose most. I think we'll probably be talking
You
to our
lose most.
grandkids in 2076 like, Billy, 2026 was wild. Everybody kept trying to make 2016 happen again, Billy. It wasn't gonna happen again. Well, Grandma, what was so special about 2016 that you guys wanted to go back so bad? Well, Billy, mainly, in 2016, we didn't know. You didn't know what, Grandma? We didn't know. And now you know? Now we do know. And it sucks. And Billy, 2016 was the last time a lot of us felt joy. The swag era. Billy,
oh,
the
yeah.
so high, people were having fun on Instagram. Real fun, not performative fun. Real tangible fun.
Oh, yeah.
The house parties in 2016, Billy? Crazy. More importantly, we had houses to have parties in. We owned them. It was also
between somewhere between 2014 and 2017 is when I got my house. So yeah, this tracks.
year of Pokemon Go. We would just Pokemon Go to the street and Pokemon Go to the beach and Pokemon Go find an active crime scene. That happened more
But
than
we did not Pokemon Go to the polls.
think. Sounds like you
If
guys
you know,
just
you
missed
know.
having a good economic market and going outside to have fun with your friends. We did, Billy. And we still do, but the government said no more of that. No, no, no. I wonder what key thing happened in 2016 that we've yet to recover from culturally. Now our youth is gone, Billy, and we're just trying to recapture it in the retirement home. In fact,
Forever young, I wanna be forever young.
Billy, the entire east wing of my retirement home got in trouble for sending explicit messages using PictoChat. The nurses confiscated our DSs. We were just trying to have fun, Billy. See, we were completely locked out of the wealth past generations experienced, and we came of age in an economic market decimated by AI. Just let us enjoy our gosh darn video game consoles. Grandma, I'm not the one keeping your DS from you. In fact, I snuck one into the home for you. I know they mean a lot to you. Perfect, Billy. Now the revolution can continue being planned via PictoChat, the only place the government can't spy on us, because they don't know what the fuck it is. When and if...
Oh. That was a good video. All right, one last one. What is this? Okay, we're gonna have to watch that later. Because definitely, like, I did pre-reserve the Razer thing. Oh yeah, this video. We can at least get one more short in. Meanwhile, in New York City, we built new $7.3 million turnstiles to stop fare evaders. I'm gonna have to mute this video because of the music. If you have never been to New York, you don't know how true this is. So they're like doing all these stupid things to like stop fare evaders and everything. Like turnstile hopping has been a thing for as long as I can remember. It's been, you know, all over the webs where they would talk about that, you know, for a while. It's like a thing in movies and all of that. Anyway, yeah. It smells like piss in the subway, though. I don't know what it is with American subways. Every time I've been in a subway in America, it smells like piss. When I was in D.C., piss. New York City, piss. Chicago, piss. But then you go overseas, and it's Germany. Clean, pristine. Hell, on the trains, you can get coffee. You can get a lunch. And in Germany, if the trains are even like a few seconds behind, after like, what if they're like a minute or two behind, coffee is free until they're back on time. Even when I was in Portugal, the subway, clean. I found bones on the rail in Dallas. I was kind of surprised that you said that you found someone getting boned on the rail in Dallas. Because that would track too. Seattle, piss and poo too. Yep. America, we don't have public transit because we don't deserve public transit. The way we take care of shit around here, fuck that. Look, I would love public transit around here. Because like the mayor, his goal for mass transit is more buses. When the highways are already getting clogged during rush hour. Yeah, we need more buses. Maybe we shouldn't have fucking ripped out the tram lines that we historically had, that there's, historical markers all over the place. Like, we used to have a tram. No! Buy more freaking buses. F this. In Denver, we have RTD. I guess it means reason to drive. Yeah. I love public transit. I just don't like the public transit in the U.S. I don't. If you see me on public transit, it's because I have really no choice. But, yeah. Yeah. That's a great little few videos and everything. Well, buses are okay when they have the dedicated bus lanes separated by the barriers. We don't have that. We don't have that shit. In most of my city, we do not have that shit. And the buses do not have a sensible schedule, nor map, or anything. It's messed up in this city. I lived in Germany, in Israel. Buses made sense. You could use them all the time. They were relatively clean. The trains could do that. Come to America? No. Apparently, every time you go on public transit here in the USA, whoever's designing that must have been in the bathroom doing... because they can't come up with a straight idea. No, not even that, because if they were on that, then they'd probably be focusing more. So they probably were doing a little bit of the Walter White shit. You know what I'm talking about. But, yeah. Anyway. I got the new firewall up. Network's been working fine, as we can see. Haven't dropped a single frame this entire stream. But to be fair, TikTok wasn't working today, and I didn't get to simulcast TikTok, which is why I also didn't give a fuck about my freaking filter. The logging server should be up soon. The new logging server. I have my old firewall. We'll go into tomorrow a little bit more. And I think I'm going to move my Dockers off my Raspberry Pi to this little mini PC over here. So, yeah. F-Ice. Yeah, I'd say that. I will say that about Seattle. And Portland is that they run like every 5 minutes and they are reliable and they have plenty of space for bikes. Give them that because San Diego you get 2 bike racks. Nice. Yeah, the clock app is acting a mess. Yeah, it's not been working right all day long. I was trying to, generate my stream key because for those of you that don't know, I have to use I use OBS to generate I use OBS to live stream, so I have to go to the TikTok Live Center to generate a key. Oh, now it's working. Okay, well, now, tomorrow we'll be simulcasting to TikTok, and we'll be bringing in our second-class citizens known as TikTok. You don't need to tell them that, but they're really the second-class citizens on streaming. Toy Story or Toy Story 2? The original. The OG's best. Was that a dog behind you? Yeah, that's my dog. Ari! That's a good boy. That's a good boy. That's my old boy. Now, where's your brother? Rock! Barack! This is Ari. He's gonna be 8 in 2 months. He's a good boy. He's a good dog. And then my husky mix is around here somewhere. Barack! Come here! Barack! Yalla! Boinna! He only comes running because he thinks there's treats. No, that dog? No. This would be the guy that's snoozing, if anything. But he's my #1 doggo. Lamala. Lamala. Good boy. That's a good boy. That's a good boy. That's a good dog. That's a good dog. That's a good dog. You want a treat? Chev. Chev. Lamala. Good boy. Dogs are the best. So he's 8. He was actually my first dog that, I wanted. Not like, my parents got or something like that. Like, don't get me wrong. I love all my dogs that I've ever had. And then Barack, the other dickhead. Your brother outside. Barack is the husky mix. He'll probably be on stream tomorrow. I'm surprised he didn't come down. Probably he's up my ass. But Barack is 2. And yeah. Third class lessons. TikTok. The honest truth is the only reason I put TikTok videos up is because, well, it is my largest platform, and by virtue of, being the largest, it also is the one that generates the most amount of revenue, but I primarily make my videos on YouTube now and then focus on live streaming as well, so TikTok just gets the clips and everything there. Is what it is. Dogs, first class Twitch, second class TikTok, third class, there you go. But... thought that was Barack, but no. Anyway, it's getting to be a little bit late. I do have work tomorrow. I will be back on stream tomorrow, of course. So, yeah. So, until tomorrow, see you later. I need to, oh yeah, and next week should be really awesome because I got both of my second round interviews this week. So, I will keep all of you updated. I think the first of the 2 is Wednesday, so before Wednesday's stream, I should know more. Hopefully that'll do great, because the Wednesday one is the job I really want. Because that'd be completely work from home. And if that happens, that means I could have an easier time making content and doing the shit that I want to do and get paid more and all that. But yeah. Oh, and also, I have to schedule my CompTIA A+ exam. I know, funny, I gotta take that. I was looking through the class materials for the Core 1, so I was laughing my ass off. Like, I actually have to be like, how to troubleshoot a motherboard, how to do all this, and I'm like, motherfucker, I've made content on this. Like, I literally had to troubleshoot my own server earlier and do ECC memory trainings and shit. Yeah, I don't get it. But anyway. Alright, got another treat. Ari! But yeah, we should be hearing more. Chev. Lamala. I'm going to be working on the Docker box here. There's going to be some more updates for the everything. And then we'll talk about my logging server for my old firewall over there. I'm waiting for the new GPU to come because the VGA on the motherboard apparently died. So I'm waiting for a riser to come in for me to slap in a Quadro K620. It should be good. But anyway, I will be back on stream tomorrow. And then I'm going to try, emphasis try, to add some streams on my non-streaming days, because normally I stream Sunday, Monday, Wednesday evenings. But yeah, shit's been happening, so it is what it is. I'm just glad that Snowmageddon has not impacted anything, and the firewall is doing fantastic. Not a single dropped frame. Yeah. So, thank you all for joining me. If you haven't already, make sure to follow me on all of my socials. I am on, I have the Discord, I have the Matrix, I have the Blue Sky, I have the Mastodon, I'm on YouTube. YouTube is where I'm primarily making videos. We've got TikTok, and then of course Twitch, Kick, and yeah, YouTube I'm live on. I mentioned YouTube twice already. But yeah, so thank you all for joining me. I love all of y'all. Stay safe, and as always, happy hacking. See y'all tomorrow.
Thank you.